Hello. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. We're back. Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Am I lagging? Man, StreamYard be doing me dirty lately. Hope it's not too bad. Was lagging at first, but now it looks like it's better. Hello. Can you guys see me and hear me? Hi. Hi, 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 hi. I'm so excited about this live. I have been going through this. Let's get into it. Let me say hi to everyone first. Hello, welcome. Welcome back. I am Melly. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you for spending your valuable time here at Mellyverse. This is my house. Hello, welcome. All is welcome. Shout out to all the homies, the friends, the haters, the replay viewers, the members, the subscribers, the lurkers, in the bushes, all of the above. You are always welcome here as long as we keep it respectful. So let's get through a couple disclaimers and then I will say hello to everyone. So disclaimer number one is, regardless of what your opinions are about Karen Reed, even if it's differing from mine or anyone else in the chat, all opinions are welcome. We just choose to remain respectful here at Mellyverse, and you're free at your own will to think what you want to think about this case. This interview is done with 𝐼𝐸. She is a very successful YouTuber. I don't know if she's going to be striking people. I heard she does. I heard she doesn't. So I guess we'll deal with it when it comes. But therefore, if you would plan to strike another creator, then you should put that in a disclaimer at the beginning of the video, like I do with my Kenzie calls. But nonetheless, I'm not the only one that has them. This is her interview. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So like I said, it's 𝐼𝐸, Karen Reed. This is Karen Reed's first interview after the acquittal. It is long, it's in depth, and it's a very good interview. I have already watched it at other channels. They released the audio version of this first. So I wanted to watch the video with you guys and get your opinions and all of the good stuff. So definitely make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, turn on all notifications, make sure you're subbed up to the second channel. Lots of things coming this week. Busy, busy, busy. I will be streaming most of the day, every day this week. So I hope you tune in. And thank you again for being here. So let me say hello to everyone and we'll get started. Like I said, this is Karen Reed's first interview after the murder acquittal, and I'm very excited about it. Let's see who's here. Taking roll. Debbie. I see Debbie. I saw Asane. Good thing Asane's on time. I saw Patty. I saw Evie, Ramon. Hello, hello. Shout out to all my mods, my friends. Appreciate you for being here. I saw Shay. Shay says, you do such a good job. Oh, thank you, Shay. We love having you here. Shay, thank you. I'm glad you love my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being part of the fam. I'll hide my beer. Drink all the beer you want. Where the helly is Melly? Where the helly is Melly with all the jelly? Here I am to share the jelly. No worries, just glad to be here. Yay, yay. Okay. Hello, Nikki. I see Nikki and I saw ATS. Hey girl, hey girl. Hi, hi, hi. No lag here. Okay, good. I haven't heard all of this yet. Thanks for playing. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about it, but we'll see how it goes, ATS. We'll see how it goes. Bushes, get out of the bushes, bitches, says Evie. Yeah, don't start, you little brat. I saw Anton. I saw Lady Me, she, her. Hello, hello. 𝐣𝐨𝐬𝐵𝐶, hello, hugs, 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 everyone, group hug. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to be pausing and we're going to be commenting and talking about this throughout the interview. But if you want to watch it in its entirety without commentary, you're welcome to roll over to 𝐼𝐸 after the fact. But for now, let's get this started. Very excited. Like I said, this audio was released, I think, a day or two ago. So it's been out. This is just now the YouTube video version of it. And I saw Ramon in here. Hello, Ramon. And then I see Retire Troll. Hey, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, Retire Troll. I really do. Okay. Ooh, it gets good. It gets really good. Regardless of what I think people's opinions are on Karen Reed, it's a very well done interview. So at least we can give them that. Okay, I'm going to get started. Let me go back to the beginning. Sorry, I don't want you guys to skip anything. Okay. There's some body cam in here too that I've never seen, so that's exciting. I will be starting the Karen Read transcripts this week, so that's also why I wanted to play this. We will be starting them, I think, tomorrow. They're on the schedule.
Bada bing, bada boo.
June 10th, 2022, Karen Read is charged with murder. She is accused of allegedly killing her Boston cop boyfriend, John O'Keefe.
Karen, State Police, we have a search warrant.
I'm in my pajamas. I don't even have shoes on. I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct. You can step inside.
She was accused of running him over, leaving him for dead in the snow outside of another Boston cop's house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
For the past 3 years, Karen Read has gone through a murder trial, a second murder trial, and finally, June 18th, 2025, she is acquitted of murder. Is that correct?
That's correct.
003, not guilty.
And this is her first formal sit-down interview since the acquittal. Welcome to Rotten Mango, Karen.
Hi, Stephanie.
You were facing life in prison.
Yes.
I'm already shook.
June 18th, you get acquitted. What is that feeling in a way that's comparable to something someone watching can understand?
It's probably the opposite of what someone watching would assume I felt. I am still not quite living in an acquittal world. I thought I would just bounce back like on a spring.
And before I continue, I just want to say this could have been any one of us. Like, it could have been Melly when she was drinking on a bad night. I mean, it could have been any one of us, right? Anyways, let me know what you think about what is your opinion about Karen Read, I guess, in the comments.
It hasn't been that way. I don't quite understand why. I'm trying to understand why I haven't felt more celebratory. And what I think is that I lived with some very singular emotions: fright, anger, and anxiety. It was very intense. Every waking hour, every hour, I thought about my freedom and if I could lose it. And those feelings just don't disappear when a jury foreman says not guilty. I mean, there is, of course, relief, but I don't just wake up the next day and I'm living the life I lived 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. I felt my grief was being replaced with anger that was then driving this adrenaline. And I woke up every day with a real purpose, and I was appreciative that I was free to pursue this purpose. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the purpose is gone, thankfully, but I don't have a routine to go back to. It's not there anymore. I don't have a job. I don't have a home anymore. And I'm just kind of in no man's land. And I still have moments every day, very brief, like a nanosecond, where I think of something. I need to tell Liza Little this for this witness, or if God forbid I'm ever convicted, I need to make sure I tell my mother this, or it's over the feeling as soon as it starts. But there's definitely some synapses in my head that are still thinking trial hasn't happened yet. It's like,
and whether, dealing with court cases, whether you commit the crime and you're willing to do the time or not, it's a heavy burden. It is. I have been through civil lawsuits and I have been through criminal stuff as well. We have spoken about that before. So I can really empathize with her on this. Even now, just dealing with my whole work thing. It's a lot. It's a lot to carry.
Like when you get ready for the holidays and then you think, wait a minute, did Christmas already happen? It was all this anticipation, and then it's over in a couple hours and you unwrap presents, and it feels like that. Like I have to ask myself, wait a minute, it's over, right? It happened. I don't need to worry about this anymore. But there's this big void in my body and in my mind that, and physically, and what I was doing every day that I don't quite know how to fill. I just feel like a fish out of water. It's weird.
I mean, that's something I was going to ask. It's been like 6+ months since the acquittal. Obviously, you don't want to go back to trial, but every day you have to get dressed. You have a mission. There's urgency. Was there like a wave of emotions that hit you after the acquittal that maybe you were suppressing during the trial?
The acquittal feels like 3 years ago. When you say 6 months, it's like, oh my God, has it only been 6 months? I already feel like it's been many seasons and many things since then. I've had such an amazing network of support, more than anyone could ever ask for in this circumstance. Emotionally, when I needed to let things out, I had people around me that I could lean on. It was more physically that I didn't have an physical appetite. I didn't have the physical energy I had during trial. I've felt just kind of lackluster and just relaxed, but not this drive. Like I feel like I've lost some of this drive, and it feels like it was just a prolonged response to what the government did to me, that I've had these endorphins pushing me, getting me out of bed, keeping me up, working on witness prep during trial and motions in between trials. And then it just shuts off. It was like this supply I had that never ended for 4 years. And now it's gone. So I feel physically, I'm paying for it now. Like I've got to relearn how to get a regimen. And
she does really good in here. Patty says, I like Rotten Mangoes. I have never had watched her before, so I'm excited to watch her. And I think she does a very good job in this interview.
How to source energy and drive every day. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully not ever like it needed to be before June 18th, but some kind of even keel. I haven't found that yet.
Do you like wake up in the morning ever like, oh my God, I'm late to court? And then it's like, okay, I don't have trial. Like I'm free.
I think I would if I were I live with my parents most of the time. So I'm not in the environs that I was in during court. But if I stayed at the Marriott in the Seaport, the Residence Inn, I may feel that way. I do get those moments of something that I want to tell one of the lawyers, or I want to remember, like, oh, these two dots connect. And then I realize, no, we don't need to know those dots connect anymore. We already addressed.
And I love the relationship she has with her parents. I'm very close to mine, so I admire that.
Thank God I don't wake up thinking I've got to get to court. I wake up feeling very fortunate that I'm not court ordered to be anywhere anymore. It's very frightening to know you are court ordered. This is not a job or school where you should be there. It's best that you're there, but no one's going to come arrest you if you don't go. And this is 2 trials plus 100 pretrial hearings that I am court ordered. It doesn't matter how I feel physically or mentally. I have to be there, and I have to be there sharp because I'm a member of this team. So it's amazing waking up knowing no one is going to force me to be anywhere today.
What did you do the first 24 hours though after the acquittal? Like 24 hours, what was that like?
The first 24 hours.
What say, is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty?
And regardless of our opinions about Karen, like this case has changed the trajectory of true crime and corruption.
I spent the whole ride back to the hotel. We were hearing from people at the hotel that the press and the neighborhood were already starting to gather in the parking lot. The hotel we stayed at was like a boutique style residence in a very lovely neighborhood in Seaport of Boston called Fort Point. And the local businesses, the restaurants, there was a residential building just across the street from us. It was almost the size of an alley, a very narrow street. And coincidentally, when I was in my 20s, I lived in that building. When we came back from the hotel, we tried to lose the press a few times. And I think we ended up going in a side alley door to the hotel. But I went to my room. David's room was below me. And I looked across the alley. And there were residents in the apartment building next door that had put congratulatory signs in their windows. Somebody put something with Yanetti's name. They must have known David because it was only, well, I guess Alan was up in the corner as well, but it was a window directly. David was below me. It was right adjacent to David's room, but FKR or congrats Yanetti. So there were people that we had met in the neighborhood that were congregating. A restaurant nearby, I had orchestrated with them. I didn't make any plans until I was acquitted because there was no way I was gonna set up any kind of dinner before I actually knew I was gonna need that dinner. So I called a restaurant in the Seaport. They gave us a private room. We had been there a few times during trial and they were amazing. No one knew we were there. And it was my immediate family, my cousins who I'm particularly close to, and my legal team, and my local lawyers brought their families. And that was a very long 3-hour journey. It was very overwhelming. My phone was blowing up. I wanted to decompress with my parents. I barely even got to speak to them. And the waiter's coming over and asking if I wanted to do a la carte desserts. And I'm like, I just really want to go back to the hotel and lay on my bed. We were getting requests for Good Morning America and the Today Show and People magazine. I mean, it was all rushing. It was just flooding in. And I don't want to do any of this. I need a beat.
Yeah.
And I need to figure out how I'm going to tackle all the media. I was very, very overwhelmed. We all went back to the hotel, all the families, my parents came back. Obviously all the lawyers were still in town. The following day, I think Liza might've been the first to leave. David was leaving, Bob was leaving. My parents left in the morning, and Alan and I said, I just want to have a day. He was leaving the second day, 2 days after the verdict. And we just walked around, went to our haunts that we ate at during trial. And it's like, I'm going to walk in with Alan and have a meal that I've never had with him without this albatross around my neck. I've never eaten a meal or had a bowl of chowder with any of these people.
And shout out to her defense attorneys. I'm obsessed with Alan Jackson, Yanetti, all of them. I think they did a superior job.
As a free woman. And it was a really sunny, warm day. And I ran into someone that I used to work with at Fidelity that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was just, I felt like I was in a dream though.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it was like the happiest day of my life. It still hadn't like hit me yet. It just felt surreal. And I felt sad. Like, so I'm going to go back to the hotel.
Oh no, I can't when people cry in interviews because I literally want to cry. At the end of the day, we're here for Officer John O'Keefe, right? Whether we like Karen or not. I think we're looking for justice for John O'Keefe. True justice.
Pack up my things, and then where do I go? And everyone else is going, my friends are going to travel back and go back to work, and the lawyers are going to go to other projects, and even my parents will go back to their routine, and my siblings. And it's just, where do I go? I was not planning with 100% certainty, I would be here today. It's weird to live a day that you never planned on. I never made a plan for June 19th or 20th or the 21st because I didn't want to jinx anything. And I didn't know that I'd be there. I didn't even book a dentist appointment. So it's all of a sudden now I've got nothing. And just very surreal is the best word I can think to describe it.
Is it like someone just comes and like shakes your snow globe and then leaves?
Yeah. Like,
You guys, imagine being incarcerated for your whole life, right? Especially on a crime that allegedly she didn't commit. Well, I can't say allegedly because she was acquitted, but you know, I know some people have their opinions about whether she did it or not, and I respect that, but like our freedom, you know, it's wild to me. It is. It's wild.
everything just settles and it just gets like eerily quiet, like it does after a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Before the plows come through, it's just dark and silent, and and it's still like feels like that. Like, I'm starting to feel my way around, like defining what my life is going to be, but it's getting easier. But I do feel I've had this delayed.
Evie said a good point. Evie says, exactly, he's forgotten it's all about her. Sorry, not sorry to say that. Absolutely, Evie. You're entitled to your opinion and I respect it. Did he get forgotten? Yeah, in a sense, you're right. You're right. It has become a lot about her. My concern is if she was acquitted, you know, who's the real murderer? That is my concern. And if you think that it's her, you know, that's a whole different story, but very, very wild case.
This delayed reaction to the persecution, not delayed reaction to the acquittal. I'm finally like reacting to this
She's very emotional, and it shows in this being her first interview.
Horrible thing that happened to me, and I had to swallow and roll with it, and now I'm digesting it. Like I swallowed something horrible, and it's just sat in my body, and now I'm finally breaking it down. I feel like I'm having to address things that I swept under the carpet. Like emotionally, it's you just, your body kicks into this fight or flight, and my body is very good. My mind is very good at kicking into fight. I work very well under stress and pressure, and it got even better. That characteristic got refined during the last 4 years. But you can't do that to your body and to your mind without paying the piper eventually. Yeah. And I feel like I've had to do that.
Have you ever like dealt with depression during the trial, even now?
No, I've never really dealt with it ever. I don't know if it's depression or if it's like PTSD. But no, I didn't feel, I was angry most of the time, angry. And I felt very lucky that it's a disservice to the people around me who are the most amazing people anyone could ask for. And I'm not inclined.
I think this interview is 100 million times better than that Lifetime movie. I haven't watched it, but from what I hear, I really enjoyed this interview.
To depression, so I'm not surprised. I mean, I went through a normal grieving process, but I didn't feel down that I had to sell my house and everything in it that I curated myself. I felt, you know, and I had a conversation with Alan that don't look at it as, you know, the government is robbing you of this. Like they're using your taxes to prosecute you, and you're having to go through every asset and liquidate it. Look at it as an investment you made before you ever knew you'd be in this situation, and now it's paying off when you need it. And you're going to use this house to save your life. And I get a lot of words of wisdom, but they don't all resonate, and that did. But I think I really just feel that I've been running on endorphins that are now the spigot just shut off, and I've got to inspire myself in ways like everybody else wakes up. And I look at everyone around me like, get up and live lives and find inspiration, or physically and mentally. And I just have to do that like a normal person now, like retrain it.
Yeah. There's actually some people, perhaps a lot of people out there, that think you are sitting on a beach, you are cashing in on a book deal, a documentary deal. Like, they think that you are good, you're set, you're enjoying your life. Is that what it really is like?
So we have announced that we're working.
I just want to say too, I think that she doesn't say any names about other creators, but I feel like in some of the statements she makes, she is talking about, the Karen Reed community. And a lot of that has to do with the drama. And if you know, you know. And I think it's important to recognize that when it comes into terms of supporting people and channels on YouTube.
With a publisher, this is �W𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲, and a producer in Los Angeles, that's Julie Yorn, on the movie and TV side of things. So I've only announced that I have agents and I have these producers helping me to sell this. Mm-hmm. I have made nothing on the documentary. In fact, I lost trying to fight for a piece of the proceeds from the documentary. I went into the documentary.
What? I clearly missed that part. I'm rewinding it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. If anyone's making a documentary on her, she should be getting a lot of those cuts. She also mentions that, there's creators banking off content based off of on her. And I find that rather interesting.
But I think I really just feel that I've been running on endorphins that are now the spigot just shut off, and I've got to inspire myself in ways like everybody else wakes up. And I look at everyone around me like, get up and live lives and find inspiration, or physically and mentally. And I just have to do that like a normal person now, like retrain it.
Yeah. There's actually some people, perhaps a lot of people out there, that think you are sitting on a beach, you are cashing in on a book deal, a documentary deal. Like, they think that you are good, you're set, you're enjoying your life. Is that what it really is like?
So we have announced that we're working with a publisher. This is �W𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲, and a producer in Los Angeles, that's Julie Yorn, on the movie and TV side of things. So I've only announced that I have agents and I have these producers helping me to sell this. Mm-hmm. I have made nothing on the documentary. In fact, I lost trying to fight for a piece of the proceeds from the documentary. I went into the documentary thinking that there was this Son of Sam law in Massachusetts, which prevents defendants from profiting. You can't commit a crime and then write a book from prison and send your kids to college on the back of this crime. Mm-hmm. There is no Son of Sam law in Massachusetts, which we found out in the middle of making this deal with the documentaries, which was great. So I can get paid at any point in this legal process, even if I
hate to say this, but yeah, as of now, after being acquitted, I think she should be paid. And I think creators who have ridden the wave should at least donate some of their proceeds or to her fundraiser or, et cetera, whatnot. I never covered the Karen Reed in depth. I know the community. I actually started on my channel based off of that community. And And I shied away because of all the drama, and there's specific situations that happened. And so I stayed away from it. I covered some of the trial. We've covered some of the docs. Did I go into depth how I wanted to? No. And I'm very proud of myself for not doing that. And so there's very few channels that I now support who have written that Karen Read rave for the first trial. And so I think now we're just going to get into that into my channel when we start reading the transcripts tomorrow. So I do just want to note that, recognize the genuine creators on YouTube.
Were convicted. We were not paid. I was not paid. No member of my team was paid anything from the documentary. It was very legally involved. I believe I was misled and taken advantage of, and we gave the documentarian our all. I did not see the documentary. I watched the end of the final episode. I don't know if there are 4 or 5. David, several people told me there was a nice moment with David and me at the end of the last episode. So I did watch that and I liked it. And then I watched, Dave and I said goodbye at the hotel. And then the documentary ended with me in my basement at the house I no longer live in with all the legal boxes, because the documentary ended at the mistrial. So I think she was trying to show, here I am just back stuck at go again with our paper shredder and our printers. And I think I was like vacuuming the floor, and I was like, all right, I've seen enough. People close to me who watched the documentary said, based on what I had predicted it would be, it was not that. And I thought, this documentary experience has not been fun. It was incredibly invasive, which I knew it would be, but we still gave them more access than they could have ever hoped for. And the documentarian, I feel, went out of her way to excise us from enjoying not one dime of the proceeds. And based on what little I saw and what I've heard of the product, I don't need your money. You know what you did. You know what we gave you every day. My family, you were in our living quarters. You were in the SUV with us every day. You know what we gave you, and you know what kind of story you had from us, and you used us. You know you did. And I wish just never to cross paths with you again. I will tell my story with more control. We don't have a book deal. I think Alan and I will be co-authors on a book. There will be no book written by someone, even with just some creative input by me. It will be written by probably 3 people, a professional, and then Alan and I will be helping to tell the story. So I want this to be a story about corruption. I want to have some impact on the state where I've lived most of my life and where my family's from and where we battled this. I want to make an impact on what people think about politics, about the government, about the dangers of a one-party political system, which is what Massachusetts is. It's not about liberal or conservative.
And as we listen to this interview, remember Sandra Birchmore too. That case was affected by this corruption.
About being one party from the founding of that government with no competition, no checks and balances. It becomes almost anarchy, like it is now. We've got a district attorney who has a war chest despite not having any opposition. It's dangerous, and I believe that is why I got where I was and why I got into this position, and why until it changes, there will be other Karen Reads. You may not hear about them. Mm-hmm. These stories, Sandra Birchmore, it's getting exposed.
I just mentioned Sandra Birchmore. I do have a playlist, I believe, on Sandra Birchmore.
Other people are exposing it as well. That's what this story will be.
Okay.
And if I have to write it myself, then I'll write it myself.
Even on that note, I do feel like I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot of clips of you. I've watched the whole documentary series, Body in the Snow, and I feel like you're very different from that. You know, the way that you're presented in the documentary and then versus like when you walked in.
I've heard that from people who have actually met her too, that she's very different from what she's portrayed in the media.
Very good, and I was not good at this in my prior life. I've gotten very good at controlling what I let upset me because so much has been taken from my control with a judge, with a district attorney, with the state police. I've been arrested. I've had my home 2 years later searched for electronics. Once someone comes in your home, you have no safe place anywhere. They've been in my parents' home. They've been in my house 3 times. So I've had to learn to control what I can control, which means not falling down a rabbit hole on Twitter, not reading comments on a video on YouTube. And I knew I had an idea where this documentary was going before it came out. We ended the relationship with Terry, the documentarian, on a very bad note over money, of course. I had former students from Bentley. I had former colleagues. I had friends that traveled on their dime to interview for this documentary. These are people who knew me in all sorts of facets of life that I was then told those interviews didn't make it in.
They didn't make it in, yeah.
But John's sister-in-law, who, to the best of my knowledge and to everyone's knowledge, I would guess, knows they didn't have the tightest relationship. Or a friend of his, there's been 2 friends of his I have never met. I was with John nearly every day for 2 years. I had dated him 20 years before that. And there's some guy and an old girlfriend who I never met. This is the closest you could find to John, people who never saw John and me interact. And yet I gave you friends, I gave you people from my parish, students, colleagues, and none of it made it in. So when the documentary came out, and I can't even remember when that was, I made a concerted effort. I will not watch that. What is the point to get upset? Because I know what didn't make it in. And people come up to me all the time that I saw the documentary. It was, wow, what a story it told. And I can't believe what you went through. But my family and friends that saw it, no one's raved about it because they don't feel it portrayed me. But I'm not surprised I was cast in a light that is not realistic.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, Karen is in the middle of multiple pending civil lawsuits and has been advised to minimize any comments made about certain topics or people. In her criminal trials, anything she said could have been used against her, and that will probably be the case with her civil cases. So with that, we are limited in the topics that we could cover with her to not put any pending litigation at risk. We hope you understand that we really wanted to ask her how someone could do certain things, testify in such a manner, etc. We were unable to. We hope to sit down with her again once she can speak more freely. The only question being, how's long till then?
During our 4-part series on Karen Read's case, I mean, that's over like 10 hours long. Just with the sheer amount of people that were involved, we did have to resort to coming up with nicknames or monikers, some of our own creations, some that we've adopted from social media discourse. And out of just pure habit and pure personal style, I might still be referring to some of these people with that nickname. We called Brian Higgins, Brian Haha Higgins, Michael Proctor, Michael No Nudes Proctor. That was literally just so people could have an idea of who we're talking about when we mention a name.
We call Higgins Higgy. We call Proctor Nasty.
Do that. That is not Karen poking fun at anyone. I honestly should probably prefer that I don't use these nicknames, but I probably will throughout this episode. And on top of that, another disclaimer is Karen is right now involved in multiple civil lawsuits involving a ton of different people. So there might be some questions that she cannot answer legally, and that's just for legal purposes. So with that being said, what do you think happened to John O'Keefe?
John O'Keefe entered the garage or the house at 34 Fairview and much sooner than later, met his demise. Based on his injuries, it looks to me like he got into a fight and fell backwards. There was not a single pathologist in either trial that didn't say the mortal wound came from falling backwards and hitting his head. That was agreed on. He had bruises on his hands.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm going back. Sorry, guys. That is intense. She's saying what she thinks happened to John O'Keefe for the first time since this case started.
And much sooner than later, met his demise. Based on his injuries, it looks to me like he got into a fight and fell backwards. There was not a single pathologist in either trial that didn't say the mortal wound came from falling backwards and hitting his head. That was agreed on. He had bruises on his hands. The prosecution tried to say that those came from IVs, but I've had many IVs. I've had them in my hands, and my hands never looked like that. But I dropped him off. He went up to the breezeway, and 6 a.m., I find him in a heap, missing his hat, missing his shoe, and laying there with a piece of glass in his face. So someone in that house killed John O'Keefe.
Oh my goodness. I'm so into this. Regardless of whether you think she did something, can we all agree that he got beat up? Those are dog scratches. Now, whether you think she backed up into him or whatever the case, or they beat him up and put him there, there is proof, and you guys know I'm a science major, scientific proof that those were dog scratches. Why would you have a head injury to the extent that he did?
The Alberts have stated that they were asleep. And there's footage of you. There's body cam footage of you like screaming, dash cam footage. How loud were you screaming? Because there's all these comments about, oh, the wind, the blizzard.
I've done research, and my understanding is that the snow can muffle sounds. I don't need to wonder if Brian Albert and Nicole Albert were awake. According to the Commonwealth's own witness, mine as well, but theirs as well, Ian Whiffen, Nicole Albert at 5 a.m. has an answered phone call from Jen McCabe. Answered and deleted.
Answered and deleted here on the screen is not Jen McCabe. We call her Jen McCabe here. I'm rewinding. This is too good.
In either trial that didn't say the mortal wound came from falling backwards and hitting his head. That was agreed on. He had bruises on his hands. The prosecution tried to say that those came from IVs, but I've had many IVs. I've had them in my hands, and my hands never looked like that. But I dropped him off. He went up to the breezeway, and 6 a.m., I find him in a heap, missing his hat, missing his shoe, and laying there with a piece of glass in his face. So someone in that house killed John O'Keefe.
The Alberts have stated that they were asleep. And there's footage of you. There's body cam footage of you like screaming, dash cam footage. How loud were you screaming? Because there's all these comments about, oh, the wind, the blizzard.
I've done research, and my understanding is that the snow can muffle sounds. I don't need to wonder if Brian Albert and Nicole Albert were awake. According to the Commonwealth's own witness, mine as well, but theirs as well, Ian Whiffen, Nicole Albert at 5 a.m. has an answered phone call from Jen McCabe. Answered and deleted. Furthermore, Nicole Albert at 6:07 a.m. and 6:08 a.m. has 2 more phone calls, each lasting about 7 seconds, from Jen McCabe, answered and deleted. This is not conjecture. This is not my theory. This is in the data. Pour over my phone records. By the way, I had no deleted calls, no deleted Google searches. I actually didn't have any Google searches at all. But I know from the data, according to the data, unless the data is wrong, and this is Celebrite, was just used to help convict Brian Walsh of murdering his wife. The same Celebrite used by law enforcement globally is telling me that Nicole Albert's phone answered a call from her sister at 5 a.m. and then 2 more at 6 a.m. So that would lead me to assume that Nicole Albert was awake.
Have you guys ever tried to recreate the quote unquote butt dials?
No, because it's not possible. It's
Remember, 20 butt dials, which I find hilarious because I don't butt dial very often. Now, how often do you butt dial in bed at night? Just wondering.
it's not possible. I have called people, and we jokingly, my friends and I, and my family and I, we say butt dial when we mean, like, I may be scrolling through my call log, and I accidentally activate that name and it calls, or someone sent me their number on Instagram and I went to press it down and copy it so then I could save it in my contacts and it called them. And then I'll say, haha, butt dial. But
that's interesting. Evie says, I hate my phone. I did that already to people. Really? I've had an iPhone and you guys know I'm wild. I've been out raging at raves in the past, parties. I have never butt dialed this many times. I might have drunk dialed, which is different. Never butt dialed though. You do it all the time. Yeah, I don't.
It wasn't an actual accidental phone call made while the phone was completely inert. That's what they're saying butt dials are. Even if you're able to inadvertently make a phone call, they're all doing it in the middle of the night. All of them. Higgins is saying he made a butt dial. Brian Albert is saying it was a butt dial.
Well, it's kind of like a butt dial.
I believe I used the word butt dials.
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
Not just a butt dial, but a butt answer and a butt hang up. On both ends. So you're saying you accidentally called him, he accidentally answered, he accidentally hung up, and then you accidentally hung up. Jen McCabe said the slew of phone calls to John at 1:15, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, she had over a dozen phone calls to John. She's claiming those were all butt dials. What are the chances these people who were together all night are engaging in, if you count them, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 butt phone actions, answering, dialing, hanging up? They appear, they meaning the Alberts, McCabes, and Higgins, appear to have kept it simple and agreed to several mantras, and just those mantras. One of them was butt dials, and the other, I don't recall, or not that I recall.
I don't remember.
I don't recall.
I don't remember. I don't.
Come on, the butt dial thing, the testimonies, and then the I don't remember.
I don't recall my interview.
I don't recall.
I do not recall having.
I don't recall.
I don't remember.
I don't remember if I was tired.
If they were coached, it was smart. Keep it simple. because when they start to add details to their renditions of what happened that night, they're completely inconsistent. Brian Higgins said his Jeep was parked in front of the house. He backed it up. He had a plow. He went into great detail, and he jokingly plowed some snow for Brian and Nicole to pull in, and then Matt and Jen, and then he V'd out and pulled in front of the house by the mailbox. Yet Jen McCabe didn't see the car, and she was apparently on night watch at the front door and never saw a Jeep with a plow, which is something memorable. Ryan Nagel, Ricky D'Antonio, and Heather Maxson were behind me. They never saw the Jeep. So my point being, their group thought is simple, but as soon as you require details from these people, their stories are all over the place.
Do you think Chloe, the Albert's German Shepherd,
Justice for Chloe? I'm rewinding a little bit. I'd like to rewind a few seconds. When will they be prosecuted? Good question. I need to know and want to know this. It's about time, no?
He had a plow. He went into great detail, and he jokingly plowed some snow for Brian and Nicole to pull in, and then Matt and Jen, and then he V'd out and pulled in front of the house by the mailbox. Yet Jen McCabe didn't see the car, and she was apparently on night watch at the front door and never saw a Jeep with a plow, which is something memorable. Ryan Nagel, Ricky D'Antonio, and Heather Maxson were behind me. They never saw the Jeep. So my point being, their group thought is simple, but as soon as you require details from these people, their stories are all over the place.
do you think Chloe, the Albert's German Shepherd, is still alive?
This is the question I get asked the most, is what happened to the dog? And I realize I do not have a dog. I realize this is where society is a lot of us love dogs more than we love people, or just as much. But I get this answer, this question constantly. I have no idea what happened to Chloe. Based on what I know, I would guess the dog is dead. I don't believe it's the dog they claim it is up in New Hampshire. We asked for proof.
The dog is dead? Wow.
He had a plow. He went into great detail, and he jokingly plowed some snow for Brian and Nicole to pull in, and then Matt and Jen, and then he V'd out and pulled in front of the house by the mailbox. Yet Jen McCabe didn't see the car, and she was apparently on night watch at the front door and never saw a Jeep with a plow, which is something memorable. Ryan Nagel, Ricky D'Antonio, and Heather Maxson were behind me. They never saw the Jeep. So my point being, their group thought is simple, but as soon as you require details from these people, their stories are all over the place.
Do you think Chloe, the Albert's German Shepherd, is still alive? This
is the question I get asked the most, is what happened to the dog? And I realize I do not have a dog. I realize this is where society is a lot of us love dogs more than we love people, or just as much. But I get this answer, this question constantly. I have no idea what happened to Chloe. Based on what I know, I would guess the dog is dead. I don't believe it's the dog they claim it is up in New Hampshire. We asked for proof, and all they gave was animal control vaccination records that I can literally go to animal control and get a copy of the vaccination records. And this woman in New Hampshire, who we have no address, no phone number for, she's claiming this is the dog. This was his birthday, and this is his vaccination. Well, anybody can get that.
At what point in the investigation did you feel like, okay, this is not an investigation into a tragic accident? I'm being framed. Like, what is there a specific moment it hits you?
So they had my phone in my car within a half hour of coming to my parents' house. So they left my parents at 4:15 on January 29th. They took my phone and they took the car. I was hoping desperately, this is a case of they've got the wrong guy. Yeah. I'm arrested on February 1st.
says John O'Keefe was found dead on the morning of January 29th, 2022. Karen Reed's first arrest happened on February 1st of 2022.
I spend the night in a holding cell, and then I'm arraigned the next morning. I hadn't met in person David Yannetti, but I had already engaged with him on January 29th. He comes to the holding cell at the courthouse in Stoughton, and he has one copy of the police report that Michael Proctor authored. He's holding the police report. Now, they're already calling my case at 9 a.m. It's like 9:10, and I don't know what I'm walking into. I don't know what they have against me. I don't know anything. David is holding the police report and we're reading it together. They only gave him one copy. So his hands between the bars, I'm leaning in and we're reading it quick. I don't know how I had the focus to even comprehend and read at that moment. It was like just another fight or flight. That focus, Karen, this is about to be read in front of a courtroom filled with people. The first thing that stood out to me was, it said they arrived at my parents' house, Proctor and 𝐕𝐞𝐥𝐥 arrived at my parents' house at 4:30 p.m. and left at 5:30 p.m. And I knew right away that was wrong. I've lived in New England most of my life. 5:30 in the middle of January is pitch black outside. 4:30 p.m. is almost pitch black outside. And I knew when they left my house, my parents' house, it was still somewhat light outside because I remember watching the flatbed with my truck go by the front window. I knew they had gotten to the house around 3 o'clock, and I knew they weren't there for 2.5 hours. So I thought, well, maybe this is how police reports are written initially in a cursory fashion, that they're approximate times, and then we can tighten timelines later. But that always bothered me. And then every affidavit that was accompanying every seizure of evidence after that kept saying the same thing, that on January 29th, we went to the house in Dighton at 4:30, we left at 5:30. So that was the first time I thought, all right, we're dealing with very sloppy, imprecise police. That was my first inkling that this isn't completely ticked and tied. After I was released from the arraignment on February 2nd, that evening, David Yannetti called me and said he had gotten an anonymous phone call from someone saying, you need to pay attention to who lives in the house. I had not even thought about the Alberts. I not one way or the other, just that I knew that was their house and they had been with us the night before, and I had met them for the first time a week before that. So it was very early on. I've been lucky that very early on and at regular intervals since, I have been given gifts of information that helped buoy me.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, hearing that information from David, so of course, as soon as David says, this anonymous caller says, look at the owner of the house, I start Googling Brian Albert. And it's within seconds, I find a Google video of him in a boxing ring beating people up. And he looks, I've met him, but I haven't paid much.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there was a video of Brian Albert doing that. Sparring, like they said.
Thought about the Alberts. Yeah. I not one way or the other, just that I knew that was their house and they had been with us the night before, and I had met them for the first time a week before that. So it was very early on. I've been lucky that very early on and at regular intervals since, I have been given gifts of information that helped buoy me.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, hearing that information from David.
Remember the sparring at the bar? Him and his son boxed, right? Yeah. He's on a railing, really? Okay, interesting.
And so, of course, as soon as David says, this anonymous caller says, look at the owner of the house, I start Googling Brian Albert. And it's within seconds, I find a Google video of him in a boxing ring beating people up. And he looks, I've met him, but I haven't paid much attention to him, but he sounds gruff, and he's walking into some drug bust with some kind of shield and weapons. And he looked like a tough, mean guy. Mind you, though, at this time, I didn't know John's injuries in detail. When I found him, he had a cut on his nose on his left side, and he had a cut above his right eye. He had blood coming out of his nose, and his eyes were like eggs. But I didn't know if he had broken ribs or his femur was sticking out of his body. I mean, it didn't seem to be, but I didn't know if he had internal bleeding. I didn't know until I saw the hospital photos in May how obvious it was that this body was not hit by a car or anything like a car. And this body looks like it was beaten up. So it was every couple months. So we got that tip. We didn't get much. March and April of 2022 were very tough. Yeah. John was in my life so much, so thickly, and then he wasn't anymore. It was the only relationship I've had, and I've had many that, I mean, I'm 45 and I've been dating since I was a teenager, that ended with such finality. I can't call him when I'm out in Boston at 1 a.m. when the bar closes like I did when I was in my 20s. I can't miss him in a few weeks and say, just thinking of you, or can I drop by and see you? I've never been forced to deal with such finality. I've never had a death that close to me. So March and April were difficult. There just wasn't anything going on. We weren't getting any police reports. I still didn't know what they were using to charge me. And it was in May that they finally released the photos that were taken of him at the hospital, and then the autopsy, with two different events. And it was very obvious to me, this is not what they're claiming. There's a cracked taillight on my car, and John is pristine from the neck down, with the exception of his right arm. Yeah. And coupling that, and David continued to get this anonymous tip to look at Brian Albert, coupling
an anonymous tip
those together, it gave me hope that I may be able to figure out what happened.
We saw the footage of the second arrest, which was probably one of the more shocking pieces of footage connected to your case. You had no idea that they were coming because you're just in short pajamas and you're begging to change before they take you in. And then eventually they mock you because you beg to change. And they're like, look at how much she cares about being on TV. Have you seen the footage?
I have seen still.
This is a very interesting part too. I did not know about them and not allowing her to change and stuff before she got arrested.
Of it, but I've steered clear. It is very difficult for me. And I've warned my parents not to. I think my dad just watches everything, but I've warned them not to.
I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct.
I have no idea what this is about now.
This is about the same exact incident, okay? Where's the medication?
Can I use the ladies' room?
I understand. We're gonna get
Call your parents and they can come over and retrieve any item you need or want.
Yep.
I can't put...
Here's disgusting Proctor right here. Regardless of whether you think she's guilty or not, Proctor's disgusting. Those text messages were disgusting and foul. This bukkake right here? Is this bukkake?
Hold on. What about the shoe wear? What kind of footwear do you wear?
Anything, but can I... These are... I don't even have underwear. Can I put pants on?
Again,
She doesn't even have underwear on.
your parents can come over here and retrieve anything.
We'll get that medication for you. And
Can I put pants on, please?
Can you just step over the side, please?
Where are your pants?
At the foot of my bed. Can I just have a pair of jeans?
We'll get those. In the meantime, let's follow this trooper right here, all right?
But where can I put my pants?
Ooh, watching Michael Proctor here. I want to start that over. Wow.
Call your parents and they can come over and retrieve any item you need or want.
Yep.
I can't put...
Hold on. What about the shoe wear? What kind of footwear do you wear?
Anything, but can I... These are... I don't even have underwear. Can I put pants on?
Again, your parents can come over here and retrieve anything.
We'll get that medication for you. And
Can I put pants on, please?
Can you just step over the side, please?
Where are your pants?
At the foot of my bed. Can I just have a pair of jeans?
We'll get those. In the meantime, let's follow this trooper right here, all right?
But where can I put my pants on?
At the back.
You guys, don't forget they seized her phone illegally too. There was no warrant for her second phone. They took the first one, her original phone. How would you feel if that was done to you?
Can I put them on before I go out of my house, please?
Ma'am, that's not part of our procedure. Once
Shouldn't
someone
I
is
put pajamas?
But
you don't have a chance to change.
Do the barracks.
Have a seat there for me. Then you gotta put that before the double lock. It's just like
You see how crazy she is his comment. I'm going back. Wow.
But
you don't have a chance to change.
Do the barracks.
Have a seat there for me. Then you gotta put that before the double lock. It's just like see how crazy she is.
Michael Proctor, you see how crazy she is? The same guy that said she was a CUNT with the leaky butthole. Yeah. Because she's had health issues. Disgusting.
She's more concerned when she looks like on TV. Yeah. I'm still recording, just to let you know. Okay.
I have seen the footage from my
I'm still recording, just so you know, so you don't say anymore. I'm rewinding that. We need to watch. It's worthy of watching again.
The barracks.
Can I put them on before I go out of my house, please?
Ma'am, that's not part of our procedure. Once
Shouldn't
someone
I
is
put pajamas?
But
you don't have a chance to change.
Do the barracks.
Have a seat there for me. Then you gotta put that before the double lock. It's just like see how crazy she is. She's more concerned when she looks.
What? Put the cameras on her? She's more of a concern of what she looks like. She has stomach issues. If you guys don't know, she's had surgeries and she has Crohn's. I don't think it's inappropriate for her to ask to have decent clothes on while she's arrested. Because that's what she will be going to court in as well.
Sex on TV. Yeah. I'm still recording, just to let you know. Okay.
I have seen the footage from my own backyard camera.
It's to degrade her. It's to degrade her.
Still recording, just to let you know. Okay.
I have seen the footage from my own backyard camera after I was arrested the first time. And once I started to figure out what was happening, I was frightened. I was frightened about who is on the other side, who is on the law enforcement side that is trying to pin this on me, and who killed John that could be in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
And then I learned about Sandra Birchmore. I did worry. I live alone. I'm like a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Will I be hanging from a doorknob in my house?
Yeah.
And they could easily explain it as guilt, depression over what had happened, and she just gave up. So the first 6 months of 2022 were difficult.
What they were trying to do that right there with her not wearing appropriate clothing, they knew that she would have to go to jail and show up in that for court. I think they were trying to make her look like she was crazy, messy, sloppy, etc.
Side that is trying to pin this on me, and who killed John that could be in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
And then I learned about Sandra Birchmore. I did worry. I live alone. I'm like a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Will I be hanging from a doorknob in my house?
Yeah.
And they could easily explain it as guilt, depression over what had happened, and she just gave up. So the first 6 months of 2022 were difficult. I had not even been explained to the concept of an upcharge. My understanding was you get indicted on what you were charged for. I didn't realize that the district attorney can present anything he wants to the grand jury, and they can charge me with anything. They could have charged me with also breaking into the Albert's house and stealing their TV set while I was parked outside. I didn't realize that, and shame on me that I didn't learn that. I was trying to learn as much as I could. During these months. I was reading a book every couple of days just about the criminal justice system and defending yourself and how this works. But June 9th, I was home alone like I was most days. I would do yard work. I'd put headphones in. I'd wait.
Think about the Sandra Birchmore case, like she said, as she speaks here. I do have a playlist on the Sandra Birchmore case. I need to do more lives on that.
Defending yourself and how this works. But June 9th, I was home alone like I was most days. I would do yard work. I'd put headphones in. I'd wait for one of the lawyers to call. I had been mowing the lawn. I hadn't showered yet. I was wearing boxers, and I actually just had a tank top on. I didn't have any underwear on. And I came in from doing yard work, and I decided I was going to cook for myself. I mean, this was my catharsis. I would go outside. I tried to get sun. I did a lot of ask my neighbors. I was out in my yard every day, just trying to sweat, at least physically tire myself out so I could sleep at night. And I was cooking. I was trying to eat well. So I was making a pot of chili. I was finishing everything up. I had music on, and all of a sudden I hear voices, and I lower the music. I go to the front door, and my windows are open. My storm door is closed, but the screen is up. And I heard a voice say, "Let's do this in the back. There's cameras out front." I had a very clear, it wasn't a Ring doorbell. It was a higher end private security system, but there was a very visible camera over the front door. But I also had them 360 around my whole property. So I heard that voice, "Let's do this around back. There's cameras out here." I see two cops. I couldn't make out who they were, but I could see them walking around by the garage of my property, which kind of requires you to go down into the driveway. The garage sits under the house, and then up a hill into my backyard. So I start shaking. I look out a window. I see there's a Mansfield, the town I lived in, Mansfield, Massachusetts, cruiser. And then I think 2 unmarked cars. Maybe there was a third. And I thought that something's happening. The first person I see, now I'm looking out the back window. I'm reaching for my cell phone. I see Michael Proctor in plain clothes walking by himself. Now he's soon to be followed by 𝐷 and another state trooper, I believe, and a Mansfield cop. I think the state police have to call in local assist whenever they're in a different jurisdiction.
Oh, she's out back. Outside? Yeah.
Wow, they avoided the cameras. Imagine having cameras and paying for them, and the police avoid them.
Now he's soon to be followed by 𝐷 and another state trooper, I believe, and a Mansfield cop. I think the state police have to call in local assist.
I've had my fair share with law enforcement. I will be speaking on it soon on my channel, but that's disgusting. It's foul. It's dirty. Scumbags. Exactly, ATS. Yeah, so they went to the backyard to avoid her cameras. If that's what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying.
Whenever they're in a different jurisdiction.
Oh, she's out back. Outside? Yeah. There's somebody in the house. Yeah.
For a split second, I thought Michael Proctor was there to hurt me. I had no idea. Why is he here? Why is he in plain clothes? Why is he at my back door, which is almost in the woods? There's no inviting path to my back door. You'd have no reason to go looking for my back door. I called David Yannetti, and it's just like a dream where you just can't dial the number, or you're trying to text and you can't get the text right. And it's like that in real life. Like your hands are shaking, and I think I dialed his number like 3 or 4 times before I finally was able to dial it correctly. And I said, "David, Proctor's here. There's police here. I don't know what they're doing." And I can't remember if David told me that he had.
Can you imagine the police that you don't trust and they show up to your home?
I finally was able to dial it correctly. And I said, David, Proctor's here. There's police here. I don't know what they're doing. And I can't remember if David told me that he had just gotten a phone call that I was indicted, or if he guessed they may have just indicted you. I knew that they were close to, I was hearing through the grapevine that people were testifying. So I can't remember exactly what David said to me. I think I either called my dad. I think I called my dad. And I said, Dad, I think I'm getting arrested again. And my poor dad, I know that was one of the worst moments of this whole thing, because we were just completely bewildered.
Yeah.
What now? So I take the phone. It's still dialed in. I'm connected to David.
I'm in my pajamas. I don't even have shoes on. I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct.
Vehicular homicide and leaving the scene causing death and bodily injury.
I walk outside. One of the first things that happens, Proctor's reading me. He's reading me my rights, and he's telling me that I've been charged with murder. And 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲, in the middle of all this, I'm on sensory overload, but I'm trying to absorb what's going on. 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 takes my cell phone and goes, I'll be taking that. And he puts the cell phone, still connected to David Yannetti, in his pocket. There is no search warrant.
I'm shooketh. Bukkake. I'm rewinding a few seconds. I'm shook.
I'm charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct.
Vehicular homicide and leaving the scene causing death and bodily injury.
I walk outside. One of the first things that happens, Proctor's reading me. He's reading me my rights, and he's telling me that I've been charged with murder. And 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲, in the middle of all this, I'm on sensory overload, but I'm trying to absorb what's going on. 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 takes my cell phone and goes, I'll be taking that. And he puts the cell phone, still connected to David Yannetti, in his pocket. There is no search warrant for that phone.
No search warrant. Still on the phone with her freaking lawyer.
That is not the phone I had on January 29th. They already have that phone. So they did, for some period of time, have my replacement cell phone, and who knows what they did with it. I know when they took it, there was an active line open to David Yannetti. So I know when 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 took the phone, there was at least an open line. So while Proctor's reading this to me, the indictment and my rights, he starts pinning my arms behind my back, and I'm trying to move away from him because I still don't understand. I've done everything. I've shown up at every hearing. I'm at my house. I haven't broken the law. I haven't driven. Why am I being arrested? I did hear the word murder, so there's gears grinding in my head that something's gotten worse here. So he's trying to pin my arms and cuff me, and I'm trying to move away from him. And at the same time, I'm saying to him, now I haven't heard the tape, but my recollection is I'm saying to him, can I please have some clothes? I'm not even wearing underwear. Yeah. I've had a colostomy bag at 4 different periods in my life. So leaving anywhere without pants or underwear or certain materials that I need is of the utmost embarrassment. And
oh my goodness, I can't imagine. Rewinding it a few seconds.
Who knows what they did with it? I know when they took it, there was an active line open to David Yannetti. So I know when 𝐤𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 took the phone, there was at least an open line. So while Proctor's reading this to me, the indictment and my rights, he starts pinning my arms behind my back, and I'm trying to move away from him because I still don't understand. I've done everything. I've shown up at every hearing. I'm at my house.
Come on, guys. Even if we don't believe she's guilty, that's not a way that you want to be treated by law enforcement. Yeah.
I haven't broken the law. I haven't driven. Why am I being arrested? I did hear the word murder, so there's gears grinding in my head that something's gotten worse here. So he's trying to pin my arms and cuff me, and I'm trying to move away from him. And at the same time, I'm saying to him, now I haven't heard the tape, but my recollection is I'm saying to him, can I please have some clothes? I'm not even wearing underwear. I've had a colostomy bag at 4 different periods in my life. So leaving anywhere without pants or underwear or certain materials that I need is of the utmost embarrassment. And Proctor knows this. He said, I did see a clip of him saying she's worried because I think it was on TV.
Yes.
Calissa, I want to say something that you make a really good point because I have experienced this. They could have easily contacted her attorney and arranged for her to turn herself in. Yeah, they could have. They really could have. I'm shook. I'm shook.
There's gears grinding in my head that something's gotten worse here. So he's trying to pin my arms and cuff me, and I'm trying to move away from him. And at the same time, I'm saying to him, now I haven't heard the tape, but my recollection is I'm saying to him, can I please have some clothes? I'm not even wearing underwear. I've had a colostomy bag at 4 different periods in my life. So leaving anywhere without pants or underwear or certain materials that I need is of the utmost embarrassment. And Proctor knows this. He said, I did see a clip of him saying she's worried because I think it was on TV.
Yes.
He said she's worried what she looks like for the cameras. All she can think about is the cameras.
He says, you see how crazy she is. She is more concerned about how she looks on TV.
You know what this reminds me of? Of the 𝐭𝐥𝐥𝐲 case. When they go and arrest her, you know, the girl that killed the baby, her newborn baby in the hospital, she yanked him off the umbilical cord. How when she got arrested at her house, she asked the police, can I go in there and grab tampons? And they allowed her to. That was a case out of New Mexico. And just that fact alone there in that case, and the fact that Karen Read wasn't entitled to that, having had gone through many surgeries, that's messed up. It really is.
Leaving anywhere without pants or underwear or certain materials that I need is of the utmost embarrassment. And Proctor knows this. He said, I did see a clip of him saying she's worried because I think it was on TV.
Yes.
He said she's worried what she looks like for the cameras. All she can think about is the cameras.
He says, you see how crazy she is. She is more concerned about how she looks on TV.
See how crazy she is? Keep the cameras on her. She's more concerned what she looks like on TV. Yeah.
More of Proctor misrepresenting everything, including that. First of all, the only reason cameras were there is because the district attorney or the state police called cameras. I arrived at the state police barracks an hour later and they were all there. I was escorted from the barracks the next morning for my arraignment and they were all there and they were all at the courthouse. So the only reason cameras are involved is because you're parading me and trying to make a case out of this. You're trying to show me looking this way like a criminal, and that's why you called the cameras in. But I should be allowed to put pants on or shoes. So 𝐣𝐤𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 goes into my house. I see him on my own home surveillance system. He's in my house for about 10 minutes. I told him where my closet was, where the room was. I have a bunch of suits. I was a professional wearing suits and professional attire my whole career. I have a closet filled with these clothes, and I directed him to that closet. He instead goes to the barracks with a pair of flip-flops. I don't know where he found them from. My Havaianas that I wear to the beach, and ripped jeans that I had just taken off from mowing my lawn. They had holes. They didn't cover my ankles. I would never wear these jeans. The grass stains.
All right, here's all her medication and shoe wear that she wants. I'm gonna turn off my camera here.
No, don't turn off your camera, you shady ass. That should not be allowed.
Filled with these clothes, and I directed him to that closet. He instead goes to the barracks with a pair of flip-flops. I don't know where he found them from. My Havaianas that I wear to the beach, and ripped jeans that I had just taken off from mowing my lawn. They had holes. They didn't cover my ankles. I would never wear these jeans.
Yeah.
The grass stains.
All right, here's all her medication and shoe wear that she wants. I'm gonna turn off my camera here.
I can't remember if they gave me the clothes to wear that night in the cell or if he gave them to me before I went to court in the morning. A girlfriend of mine came to the barracks in the middle of the night with court clothes, with black pants, a black top, and black shoes. And they would not allow me to put those clothes on for court. So I heard her come in. I was in a cell.
This is the same officer who was sending text messages about wanting to see her nudes. That is where I draw the line. The whole nudes thing. I'm sorry. That's like out of this world.
I'll turn off my camera here.
I can't remember if they gave me the clothes to wear that night in the cell or if he gave them to me before I went to court in the morning. A girlfriend of mine came to the barracks in the middle of the night with court clothes, with black pants, a black top, and black shoes. And they would not allow me to put those clothes on for court. So I heard her come in. I was in a cell. And she said, can I give these for Karen for the morning? And they said something to her like, we can't guarantee that, but we'll take them.
They wanted her to show up to court in her shorts, no underwear, basically workout clothes.
They gave them to me at some point the next day. They didn't allow me to put them on. Instead, they forced me to take the bag of clothes that 𝐷 had secured, which was ripped jeans and flip-flops.
First right and the first left.
That night was one of the worst nights of my life in the past 4 years because I called David from jail and he was worried. He was not able to tell me anything to allay my fright. I mean, it's not concern, it was fright. And he said, they've upcharged you with murder. I don't know how they're able to do that, on what evidence, but they've increased the charges. They want to keep you locked up now through trial, through verdict.
That is crazy. Are the corrupt cops looking into other shady cops? Who, if any, will hold them accountable? Yeah, good question, Kat Randall.
But if we're asking for bail, they're requesting $1 million, which of course I did not have. So I spent the night knowing that I've got to go before a judge tomorrow. I didn't know what judge it would be. And I have to hope they lower this bail, that they allow me to post it. A judge can deny you bail altogether, that you're a danger to society. You've been indicted for murder. You're not going home.
There are active lawsuits between you and Michael Proctor, amongst others, so there's some things that you can't say, but there are things that are indisputable. So Michael Proctor himself has admitted that he has texted people in group chats. He texted that he hasn't found your nudes yet. He talked about and made fun of your medical condition, saying, quote, she's got a leaky balloon knot. It leaks poo, calling you a, quote, whack job, and then basically saying you are a babe with no ass.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
You followed that up with the phrase leaks poo, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
When did you first find out about these text messages? What was going on in your mind?
I knew there were vile text messages. They were under a federal protective order. Mm-hmm. They were first encountered by my team, by my lawyers in February of 2024, just before the first trial. I was not able to view these text messages. I just knew the generals, that they existed, and I knew they were involved in the cross-examination prep, which I was very involved in.
To have him, Michael Proctor himself, on the stand reading out what he sent, what's going on in your mind?
If there had been some leaks on Twitter that I saw an account, we called her a big, which I assumed someone like him uses language like that anyway. I knew in general that they were vile, but when he read them, I was actually annoyed that Adam Lally preempted us bringing these messages out in cross-examination. That should have been our moment. He's your lead detective. You're letting him lay this case out. This is showing bias. And Adam Lally, and you always run into this issue with trial, that if the evidence has already come out, you risk the judge saying, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Yannetti, that's already been asked and answered. So there was this worry that Lally is going to let Proctor read the text messages with very flat affect. And he did. You could barely understand. She's a babe with no ass. She has a leaky balloon on. And next question, it was by design. Let's get him out there and preempt the defense from getting it out there. Luckily, we were still allowed, and we made the biggest moment of it. I cared more about his lies. What he said about me and my anatomy, it's disgusting, but
I can totally agree, regardless of the situation. Yuck.
It did not embarrass me. Michael Proctor does not have the ability to embarrass me. In fact, I have all that I have in my life right now, and the love and support and new endeavors such as this, and meeting people like you, ironically, because of Michael Proctor and what he tried to do to me. Joking about my apple. I mean, I don't even want to say it was a joke. He was talking about my rectum and that I've had rectal surgery.
That is foul, guys. I'm sorry. Foul, 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 foul. That part just really irks me.
And meeting people like you, ironically, because of Michael Proctor and what he tried to do to me. Joking about my apple. I mean, I don't even want to say it was a joke. He was talking about my rectum and that I've had rectal surgery. That this is a father of children, of boys, scarily. This is a husband of a woman, someone's son. This is a cop with power and carrying a gun and my age, more or less. And this is what this is his vernacular, a balloon knot and talking about my rectum. You're not embarrassing me. You're embarrassing yourself. And my medical issues, I've never been embarrassed by. I've struggled to deal with them in society and in intimate situations. But I'm proud of what I've had to deal with. And the more I talk to people and the older
This like really bugs me because we don't leave this world untainted, right? None of us are perfect. Getting to old age or death is not going to be easy. I'm really bothered by this part.
2022 for me was when I was finally indicted after the awful experience of June 9th into June 10th. The floodgates opened and now we get all the discovery. And a cousin of mine who's an attorney, we agreed we'd get the discovery, which was thousands of...
Like some of us might experience these medical issues as we get older. And how would that feel if someone talked about you like that, especially law enforcement in a courtroom?
As we age, I cared more about his lies, him lying so blatantly every search warrant, 9 of them took the car at 5:30. Why? Because the CERT team, and this was another major lamppost in 2022 for me, was when I was finally indicted after the awful experience of June 9th into June 10th. The floodgates opened, and now we get all the discovery. And a cousin of mine who's an attorney, we agreed we'd get the discovery, which was thousands of pages. And we attacked it from, I think she went from the beginning to the middle, and I went from the end to the middle. And she's a lobbyist. She was working full time, but every night she went home. I worked on it all day. She worked on it all night. And she called me one night. This isn't about July. So I've been indicted now and upcharged for a month, and we're working our way through our discovery. I don't know what day, I would be guessing, but it was like a Thursday, a weeknight. She calls me at about 10 or 11, and she said, Karen, read the CERT report. This is the crime scene services search team. It's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And there's a whole box for a narrative about the evidence that was found at 34 Fairview. And there's only 4 lines that I needed glasses to read what they said. And it was that the first pieces of red and clear lens were found at 34 Fairview. I can't remember if the report said 5:45 or 6 p.m. And then.
So the text says the theories are, if they took Karen's car at 5:30 p.m., there won't be enough time to bring the taillight pieces to 34 Fairview. If they took Karen's car at 4:15 p.m., then that gave them enough time to bring the pieces to 34 Fairview to be discovered.
Thousands of pages. And we attacked it from, I think she went from the beginning to the middle, and I went from the end to the middle. And she's a lobbyist. She was working full time, but every night she went home. I worked on it all day. She worked on it all night. And she called me one night. This isn't about July. So I've been indicted now and upcharged for a month, and we're working our way through our discovery. I don't know what day, I would be guessing, but it was like a Thursday, a weeknight. She calls me at about 10 or 11, and she said, Karen, read the CERT report. This is the crime scene services search team. It's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And there's a whole box for a narrative about the evidence that was found at 34 Fairview. And there's only 4 lines that I needed glasses to read what they said. And it was that the first pieces of red and clear lens were found at 34 Fairview. I can't remember if the report said 5:45 or 6 p.m. And then all of a sudden it was, my light was not there all day long, because that was something I could not reconcile for months and months in 2022. But how did my taillight get there? How did they somehow find pieces of it broken at John's house from when I hit John's car at 5 a.m. And were they able to transport those? That's the only thing I could figure out. And I still didn't have an answer as to why he lied about taking my car at 5:30 when he actually took it and left at 4:15. And it was that night in July. The CERT team did not find taillight until after Proctor had the taillight. And he had to get himself out of Canton at 5:45. If he's in Dighton at 5:30 in a blizzard, 35 miles from Canton, there's no way he can be in Canton with the Lexus and the Lexus's red taillight at 5:45. And it was just the biggest eureka of, more than the text messages, more than the butt dials, more than the phone and the SIM card cut up at the Air Force Base. To me, it was the cornerstone, because it just bothered me. I just couldn't reconcile, how did my taillight get there? I know I did not break my taillight at 35. I tried to think of every scenario in which I could have, and none of it was reasonable. And then I realized that moment it was placed there after they had access to it.
And the inverted footage.
And the inverted footage. I mean, the inverted footage didn't come for 2 more years. But when Proctor was on the stand reading the messages.
He's a whack job. See you.
Objection.
Ugh. This is one person I can't stand. He deserves everything he gets too, Proctor.
Phone and the SIM card cut up at the Air Force Base. To me, it was the cornerstone because it just bothered me. I just couldn't reconcile, how did my taillight get there? I know I did not break my taillight at 35. I tried to think of every scenario in which I could have, and none of it was reasonable. And then I realized that moment it was placed there after they had access to it.
And the inverted footage.
And the inverted footage. I mean, inverted footage didn't come for 2 more years, but when Proctor was on the stand reading the messages.
He's a whack job. See you.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yeah, say it with your chest, Proctor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Gosh. At this point, I have more balls than him.
Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
I'm going through his client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the client?
I was referring to Miss Reed.
He also called her retarded.
Oh.
Correct?
That is what
You guys know I hate that word. I don't say it on my chat. I rarely do. I hate that word. I don't hate much. I hate that word.
Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
I'm going through his client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the client?
I was referring to Miss Reed.
He also called her retarded. Correct?
that is what's written.
And that's what you read.
I have no memory of reading that. I acknowledged him going through the phone on my Apple Watch. I have no memory of him writing retarded on a text message.
Did you encourage that statement by Michael Proctor by liking it with a thumbs up?
I don't know if it encouraged him, but
oh my God, I need to go back. I'm shook.
Him writing retarded on a text message.
Did you encourage that statement by Michael Proctor by liking it with a thumbs up?
I don't know if it encouraged him, but so I cannot speak to that.
But that's what you did.
I acknowledged the text message being sent.
How close did you remain in contact with Michael Proctor after high school?
Very close.
Could you read all of them, please?
These are not my words. I'm not really comfortable reading these. Do I have to?
You're not comfortable reading them, but your friend was comfortable texting them.
Say these words out loud?
I'll say the words and I'm going to ask you if I'm reading accurately. Is that better?
Yes.
11 p.m., 5 minutes, 57 seconds. Mr. Proctor says, from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job, and then uses the C word to describe. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
At the bottom from one member in the group stating, oh, she's skating.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor responds,
I'm
zero
sorry.
chance.
I can't.
she
I
skated.
can't. These people are ridiculous. Like, you're texting this, you're getting the text, you acknowledged it, you read it, and now you can't speak the words in court. Like, really? Really? Right. Why was your friend so comfortable saying them to you? That's what I mean by, like, say it with your chest. Really? Really?
Oh, she's skating?
Yes.
Mr. Proctor responds, zero chance she skated. She's effed. She's fucked.
Yes.
And then one person in the group says, no ass bitch. Accurate?
Yes. That's accurate.
Mr. Proctor, there's a response, laughed at, quote, no ass bitch.
Yes.
Somebody in the group says, is that chick a smoke?
No ass bitch.
Contact with Michael Proctor after high school.
Very close.
Could you read all of them, please?
These are not my words. I'm not really comfortable reading these. Do I have to say these words out loud?
I'll say the words and I'm going to ask you if I'm reading accurately. Is that better?
Yes.
11 p.m., 5 minutes, 57 seconds. Mr. Proctor says, from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job, and then uses the C word to describe. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
At the bottom from one member in the group stating, oh, she's skating.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor responds, 0 chance she's skated. She's effed. She's fucked.
Yes.
And then one person in the group says, no ass bitch. Accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Mr. Proctor, there's a response, laughed at, quote, no ass bitch.
Yes.
Somebody in the group says, is that chick a smoke? And then the same person follows up with a question mark. Accurate?
Accurate.
Mr. Proctor responds, E-H.
Yes.
Nut bag, as my chief would say.
Yes.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Yes.
Leaks poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
But you're still friends with him?
I am.
But you're still friends with him?
Is that chick a smoke? And then the same person follows up with a question mark. Accurate?
Accurate.
Mr. Proctor responds, E-H.
Yes.
Nut bag, as my chief would say.
Yes.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Yes.
Leaks poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
But you're still friends with him?
I am.
He could be a
You're still friends with him. Wow.
pig and I could still be guilty. That's why I wanted the focus.
How could he be a pig and I still be guilty?
Poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
But you're still friends with him?
I am.
He could be a pig and I could still be guilty. That's why I wanted the focus of the jury to be on Proctor's lies and the actual framing and how was this orchestrated, and not on the fact that this man is a vile pig who talks about people's rectums. You could still have a guilty woman and just a very unprofessional investigator. I cared much more about the lies that enabled him to pull off what he pulled off. And the text messages were just, I just spent my energy assuring my parents that do not feel bad for me. This man does not have that power over me. Anyone who looks at me differently because some stranger who's never seen me naked is going to talk about my anatomy. Anyone who finds that entertaining or is going to judge me for it isn't anybody I want in my life anyway.
Yeah. During the trial, you're sitting there. The witnesses are going up onto the stand. They're testifying. They're like, Karen did this. Karen said this. How do you not go up and testify? Do you not have the urge to be like, no, let me tell you?
I did have the urge, and I tried to quell that and to satiate it by doing the documentary so that I could go back to the hotel at night and be interviewed. The judge was appearing to be so much more lenient with her rulings with the prosecution than she was with us. I mean, we had to fight for everything. And it seemed to be a one-way street, that there was a worry if I testified, the prosecutor, especially Brennan, he seemed to be given even more latitude than Lally was. He did this with our witnesses. He was putting words in their mouths in his questions of those witnesses. Not exactly, but for example, something like he would say to Dr. Wolf from ARCA, so after a car has backed up 60 feet at 20 miles an hour and damaged this arm, then did the car keep going? Like you can't testify for the witness. Wolf has to agree that car, I can't remember the numbers anymore. I used to know them with precision and now I don't, but he would ask a question and insert the answer he wanted, which he shouldn't be allowed to do, but he was. So there was real risk. Same with risks putting Proctor on the stand, that we're not playing by the same rules that Brennan was just so unethical in his questioning. I was really all right. I had lived 3 years before the first trial of long hearings, battling for things. I was getting used to it at this point. I don't think the public really started paying attention outside of the local market, really started paying attention until trial. But we had hours and hours of hearings for 3 years, including 2 arrests where I was in chains, shackled and handcuffed. So I had gotten very good at venting to the people that were there to be vented to. And I knew if I can escape this hell, I will be able to get my side out. So it wasn't as bad as people think. Like, how did you watch this person and not scream? I felt very close to God. I felt my parents' presence behind me.
She had a lot more self-control than I think I would have had.
I had my lawyers who became like family, all of them to me. And I knew they were frustrated on my behalf. And I knew the public, especially by the second trial, the public knew what was happening, that Karen, this isn't your scourge. This is not your cross alone. Everybody behind you and around you is carrying it. Do not let it eat at you. Do not let that person control you. They were all so repetitive and so like one another. Like, I don't recall, and it was the defendant. And I wish I'd known. I wish I had gone outside. And it wasn't laughable. It was very serious, but it was very predictable. And I hope it was transparent to the jury, and apparently it was to both juries, because I was acquitted both times.
Did you get a vibe that Auntie Bev did not like you? Judge 𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲.
Yes. I felt that Judge 𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 did not. I felt that she had a personal animus towards me. Absolutely. I felt it very early on. In our early hearings in 2022, we wouldn't be called right away because there were other cases. They started prioritizing us, and we were drawing such crowds that when we would have a hearing, they would get it started very promptly to help clear the courthouse, get us all in and get us all out, get the media out, and then hear other cases. But early on, when it wasn't attracting a big crowd, we would wait our turn, and there'd be other cases and other defendants called. And I was sitting at a hearing, I want to say it was September of 2022. It was like the first hearing that Alan was on the team for. And we were sitting in the back row, if you're looking at the courtroom on the left side, waiting. And there were maybe 4 other cases that she called. And every defendant, it was all 4 men, maybe 1 woman. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dressing professionally for court. She said this. It was on repeat for every, thank you for being here. Thank you for dressing professionally to court. This happened multiple hearings. She never said it to me. There were moments that I felt she was ruling unfairly, but as far as not liking me, that was the first indication I felt she may not like me personally.
My opinion is Bev 𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 hated Karen Read. And I think all the girls, ladies involved with the Alberts, all of them, even the Aruba girls, I think they had some line of jealousy for Karen. And I think that they all wanted John O'Keefe too. Like, imagine Higgy and Proctor, they're all pigs. And John's a nice guy, right? He's handsome. He's a cop as well. He's nice to everyone. I think part of me thinks they were jealous of Karen, and a part of me thinks that some of those people might have actually liked John. That's just my opinion, though.
The first hearing that Alan was on the team for, and we were sitting in the back row, if you're looking at the courtroom on the left side, waiting. And
I mean, you guys said that as I was literally speaking it. ATS says Jen wanted to be with Karen, wanted to be Karen and with John. LZ says they all did. I don't blame them. I really don't. John was handsome.
There were maybe 4 other cases that she called, and every defendant, it was all 4 men, maybe 1 woman. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dressing professionally for court. She said this. It was it was on repeat for thank you for being here. Thank you for dressing professionally to court. This happened multiple hearings. She never.
And remember, Karen wasn't part of the crew. She started dating John after, 20 years.
Said it to me. There were moments that I felt she was ruling unfairly, but as far as not liking me, that was the first indication I felt she may not like me personally for some reason. And then there was a moment with the verdict form in trial 1 where I mean, your viewers need to see the verdict form if they haven't, that they then tried to present in the second trial. Again, this verdict form, it had, just by setup, it had the word guilty 8 times and the word not guilty 3 times. It's visually
confusing.
It's visually confusing, and it's prejudicing the jurors to think I'm guilty because they just see the word guilty so many times. So Alan is arguing with the court and with the clerk that we want to revise this verdict form. And she's arguing this is how it's always done, Mr. Jackson. This is how it's done in Massachusetts. I mean, that was the topic of what was happening at the time. And she just kind of dismissed it. And we're done here. And I went, just like that. And she said, is this funny, Ms. Reed?
Okay, I disagree with you. All right, excuse me. This is funny, Ms. Reed?
Oh, this part. I remember when I heard this, I'm like, no, she did not. She did not, Bev Canoni, Schmoni.
I mean, that was the topic of what was happening at the time. And she just kind of dismissed it. And we're done here. And I went, just like that. And she said, is this funny, Ms. Reed?
Okay, I disagree with you. All right, excuse me. This is funny, Ms. Reed? All right, we're done.
All rise to the court, please.
I think it was prejudicial towards...
That's like harassment, I feel like.
It's me, the defendant, that she chose to characterize my exasperation as making a joke of the proceeding. Is this funny, Ms. Reed? My jurors and the media...
It is her court, but if a judge said that to me, I would be a little like,
And that was a gross mischaracterization. Judge Canoni knows exactly what my reaction was. It was one of disbelief and exasperation and frustration. And she addressed me. I have lawyers here who speak on my behalf. You can address my lawyers who can address me. But you addressing me directly is baiting me to then respond to the court, which will not end well for me. But those and the list goes on. But her calling me out, like, she knows what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
She knows how difficult this is for any defendant to stand trial. When the verdict was read, we were prepared for a sentencing hearing. So my legal team in the days of the verdict watch was split up into 2 groups. At the hotel, Alan had a suite at one end of the top floor and Bob Alessi had a suite at the other. And we had 2 teams. Liza, Evan, Alan, and I were working on the closing argument. David, Yannetti, Bob, and Sophie and Sydney, 2 of our interns, were in Bob's room working on a sentencing hearing. So if, God forbid, I was convicted of anything, which we thought there was a likelihood I could be convicted of the OUI based on how the first trial ended, hung up looking, jurors were telling us they were looking for an OUI, not a manslaughter OUI, but just garden variety OUI that was not there. They were working on sentencing that if I was convicted of OUI, we fully expected, I did anyway, my lawyers were split, that Brennan would ask for the maximum 2 years. So it was such a difficult decision to put the OUI on the slip because I felt I was almost guaranteeing I was going to go to jail. That with this district attorney and this judge, if I don't put OUI on, the jury is forced, if they want to convict me, it's going to have to do with John's death. But once I put OUI on, just drunk driving, I'm much more likely, based on the evidence, the blood alcohol taken from the hospital, I'm more likely to get a conviction. And while I'm not facing life in prison, I could be facing 2 years in prison. I had to have, I got about a dozen character letters, they're called, of not friends and family, but teachers I've had, students I've had, coworkers of mine.
You know, we watched the Brian Walsh trial. Well, not all of it in its entirety, but I did watch it. And that judge was so like, I liked her. And compared to Bev Cannoni, I really don't know how Cannoni was able to get away with her behavior in rulings. Corruption.
And the character letter has to be written on the premise that you are guilty. You're not arguing for my innocence. You have to accept the conviction, but then argue for the judge based on my character and what they know about me personally, that she should go light on sentencing. So I'm in one room preparing for a full acquittal with Alan's clothes, and then I'm running down the hall and making sure all the letters, the character letters are getting printed, and we have case law for the judge that this is a first-time OUI. What do you do for a first-time OUI? You suspend their license and they go to a drunk driving class. If Brennan, which we expected was going to argue for jail time, we had to have a robust motion in opposition. Why not? So the verdict is read. I'm relieved, but I'm still waiting after the final not guilty, the leaving the scene was read. I still have sentencing because I was found guilty of the OUI. So Judge Cannoni looks at Hank Brennan and says, and what do you recommend for sentencing? And this was almost more shocking than the verdict. Truly shocking. Like, I had expected it, if I had to bet an appendage, had thought if I was convicted of OUI or anything, Brennan would ask for the max sentence. And I thought she would split the baby and say, well, the max is 2, I'm going to give her a year, which is still devastating. So she looks to Brennan and he says, the Commonwealth recommends 1 year probation with a suspended license. And she looks at him and says, same as every other first-time offender. And he goes, same as every other first time. And it was like the most charitable thing. Actually, not even charitable. I'm miscalibrated. It was fair.
You're not used to that.
Hey, Mr. Brennan, what's the Commonwealth's recommendation?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth moves for sentencing. We recommend a probation 1 year 24D program.
So the standard that everybody else gets on a first-time OUI?
Certainly.
The standard. Yeah. How about equality with everyone who's received an OUI? It was freaking weird.
Okay.
We ask that you be treated no differently, no better.
So I'm happy to do it. All right. Thank you all.
1 year probation, 1 year probation on docket number 002.
It's the wildest turn of events. I couldn't believe that this man, Brennan, was just arguing in his closing argument 2 days earlier for me to spend my life in prison. And then he has a moment with a judge that seems favorable to him to send me to jail enough to hurt. A week is enough to hurt. And he says, just slap her on the wrist. I looked at him and it just, so wait, were you faking all along? Or this is the only way to be saved with your public image is you lost. So now you almost have to be reasonable. But this is just it just felt like a big game that they call in the jury. They're about to read the verdict. They stuff the courtroom with court officers because if I'm guilty of, if I'm sentenced to anything requiring incarceration, and if I'm convicted of murder, I'm getting cuffed right there on the spot. I can't reach behind and squeeze my mother. I can't hug one of my lawyers. It's over. And I'm walking out the back door. So they surround you and to prevent any outburst and to control me. And then in the blink of an eye, it's, just make her go to a DUI class. And there's a parade out front for her too, by the way. It was just, that was the most befuddling of the 3 months of the second trial was when Brennan said, just 1 year probation. I'm like, wait a minute. You've been trying to end my life. Can you at least be consistent? And pretend you think I'm a bad person? Can you just finish the charade and even with the judge.
So the standard that everybody else gets on their first time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
It was same as every other, like, I haven't felt same as every other defendant at all in this courthouse. That I was still in shock at that I was convicted of the OUI and that Brennan didn't argue, and all that work we did, of course, because we were prepared. We didn't need it, thank God. But that was one of the more shocking events of the second trial for me.
So I think it goes into part 2 here.
It is entirely a brand new year, which means I wake up every new year and I think of are the people. Speaking of her Auntie Bev characterizing you as thinking something is funny, I feel like during your trial, there was so much emphasis on your demeanor, your expressions. There are some crazy headlines that I think maybe you can clear the air on. If you want to pass me Exhibit A. So I'm going to read you the headline and the accompanying photo that they put with this headline.
Okay.
And then some comments. And I feel like probably what happened is nothing like the headline.
I'm sure.
Thank you. This is the first headline by the New York Post.
Of course.
Who does not like you for some reason. And the headline is, Karen Read flashed sinister smirk as gory photos of her dead cop boyfriend are shown in court. I'm imagining that was not.
No. First of all, I'm talking. My eyes are wide open. I'm looking that looks to my right. That's Alan or Liza sitting there. And I'm going, something. I mean, I can reproduce that face very, very easily, but I'm not smirking. I'm actually just speaking. And I don't think I spoke or turned at all when the photos were shown. I looked, I mean, I remember this very clearly, but I would look, I've seen those photos.
Yeah.
They're on my.
The photos of her rolling her eyes and stuff, I don't think it was like, it's whatever. She was right. They're still images.
Phone.
Yeah.
I've poured through them to his pores. I know his photos. I've watched his autopsy. Those photos as shown in court, I have had for years, and I've analyzed. It took us. There's a burn mark on his sternum that we couldn't figure out for months what it was, and finally realized. I think I Googled or described it to Google. It was he was burned with the defibrillator pads. I'm just giving an example of. They were horrifying to see. For several weeks, I told David not to upload them to the Dropbox that lived on my cell phone because I didn't want there to be any chance I'd be scrolling through Dropbox and there it was. The autopsy took me like a year. It's quite gruesome. I can't believe people do this for a living, but I had to know everything so I could piece everything together. But I don't believe I spoke ever or turned to speak to a lawyer. Well, the photos of his body were up on the projection.
That's what we assumed.
But I do look like that when I talk sometimes, unfortunately.
This one is also wild. Karen Read rolls eyes, snaps at defense team as she stands trial in murder of Boston cop boyfriend John O'Keefe.
Oh, I'm sure I rolled my eyes. I know I have rolled my eyes many times. I speak very emphatically to the defense team. I'm very animated and emotional, but I have never snapped at them.
Imagine.
Even if I wanted to, which I've never wanted to, I would never do that. But there were many times in trial that I looked at a lawyer. It was easiest to look to David because my back would be to the camera, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
I definitely rolled my eyes during trial many times.
And honestly, it's crazy that they're doing this. And like the people's comments is even crazier because I don't know what people want from you. Like, do they want you to be stoic? Do they want you to?
You can't win for.
Yeah. Alicia said, so who killed her boyfriend then if you're not like into this case? Because I know not everybody is, but Colin Albert had wounds on his hands. Which is very telling.
I speak very emphatically to the defense team. I'm very animated and emotional, but I have never snapped at them.
I imagine.
Even if I wanted to, which I've never wanted to,
Yeah.
I would never do that. But there were many times in trial that I looked at a lawyer. It was easiest to look to David because my back would be to the camera, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
I definitely rolled my eyes during trial many times.
And honestly, it's crazy that they're doing this. And like the people's comments is even crazier because I don't know what people want from you. Like, do they want you to be stoic? Do they want you to?
You can't win for losing.
Yeah.
If you're crying, then I am out of tears. I am out of tears about the tragedy of January 29th. I have mourned for months and years before the public ever knew me. But that's why lawyers advise you've got to look at the way the jury's looking at it, that they're seeing those photos for the first time. You have to pretend like it's hard for me to pretend much. I can't fake things. Then I feel like I look like a faker. So I try to be stoic. I could not cry. I would not allow myself to cry. I would not cry in front of the O'Keefes. I would not cry in front of the prosecution. I'm
very much like similar to Karen in this aspect.
Felt both of those groups were looking at this completely backwards. They were refusing to see the truth or willingly not looking at the truth. And I needed to stay strong. I couldn't break down. I did one day going into court. It was just, I just had a really tough time getting out of the SUV. It was just a rough morning. I couldn't go up and down emotionally like that. I had to go in strong. I had to go in tough, and I had to maintain it. I had to control myself the best I could. And I wasn't about to strap myself in to an emotional roller coaster. I would never survive. I had to do this twice. So I understand. I do understand the public saying that's horrible what I just heard or what I just saw. First of all, things that may have seemed emotional and upsetting to the public, I may have found to be insincere, but a lot of the gruesome images I have dealt with and seen nearly daily. I understand the reaction of the public, expecting more emotion, but I have evolved to a different place.
You were just damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah.
Yep.
If you had to go to lunch with either Lally or Brennan, who would you go to lunch with?
I would go with Brennan.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would go with Brennan. I feel that I make him very uncomfortable.
Your Honor, my brief review of the lab paperwork and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
We've had some stare-offs in the courtroom. Lally, I don't have pleasant thoughts about either one of them. I don't think they're honorable. I don't think they have integrity. I don't think they're honest. I wouldn't want to eat or watch either of them eat.
Yeah.
But I think I'd have better stories to tell eating with Hank Brennan.
I saw online everyone calls Lally Lullaby, and
160.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Lally. Wrap it up.
Oh my gosh. Lally. I can't deal with Lally.
The hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
We've had some stare-offs in the courtroom. Lally, I don't have pleasant thoughts about either one of them. I don't think they're honorable. I don't think they have integrity. I don't think they're honest. I wouldn't want to eat or watch either of them eat.
Yeah.
But I think I'd have better stories to tell eating with Hank Brennan.
I saw online everyone calls Lally Lullaby, and
160.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Lally. Wrap it up.
Yes. All consistent
Wrap it up.
with pieces of taillights that are found within his clothing. Ms. Gilman, if I could.
It's very monotone.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how neither seem to really prepare much. Like Lally might have read, I can't even remember, you know, when you don't practice a memory, you don't remember it anymore. And you tend not to want to practice painful memories. So I can't remember if Lally read, I think he did for his opening and closing arguments in the first trial, but Brennan did not. And I think he was trying, I'm guessing, if I had to guess, that he was trying to convey an ease with the subject matter, a comfort and familiarity and conviction in the subject matter, and an intelligence that I can speak extemporaneously about what this woman did. I know so well and I believe so strongly that she did it that I'm going to walk around and pontificate. And we were much more structured, but
Ooh, pontificate. I like that word. It means to express oneself, I believe.
In the subject matter, and an intelligence that I can speak extemporaneously about what this woman did. I know so well and I believe so strongly that she did it that I'm going to walk around and pontificate.
Pontificate, to express one's opinions in a way considered, according to Oxford Language Dictionary.
And we were much more structured, but I know the details of this case. I know them, and I know he messed a lot of them up. And I mean, the jurors didn't have their notebooks in closing argument, so it was probably lost on them, luckily for Brennan, but he should have written, he should have written at least some bullets for the details, for the data points.
Clearly, this is a hypothetical question. If you could put at least 2 people involved in your case, inject them with truth serum, compel them to tell the truth, which 2 people would you choose?
Truth serum? This is a good question. You're writing it.
The truth.
About that night, about everything.
The night, the months.
Wait, I need to go back.
Luckily for Brennan, but he should have written, he should have written at least some bullets for the details, for the data points.
Clearly, this is a hypothetical question. If you could put at least 2 people involved in your case, inject them with truth serum, compel them to tell the truth, which 2 people would you choose?
Michael Proctor and Brian Albert.
What would you hypothetically want to know or ask?
The truth.
About that night, about everything?
The night, the months. I have a pretty good guess of how things, I've seen these men, they were on tape sparring and shadow boxing just minutes before. Just minutes before.
That always was sus to me, the shadow boxing.
I can surmise based on what I know of these people, what I know of John when he's been drinking, what I've seen of Colin Albert when I've had to cross paths with him. I can surmise what happened. I'm more curious about whom they had to enlist in other events that unfolded over the following months as we made headway, probably much to their disbelief.
Have you run into them since the trial? Any of them? Like in public? What would you do if you did?
That's a good question. I want to say no, but let me think about it. Like I was in a bar. I was at the Warren Tavern in Charlestown, and a girl who works there is a very staunch supporter. She was at many of the trial dates, and she had told me that Brian Albert had been in there. I know that I've missed Brian Albert a couple times. My guess is he is not embraced in Boston establishments the way I am. But no, I don't think I've run into. Thankfully, I don't care to see. I don't fantasize about it. I don't need to see any of these people.
What about like people who think you're guilty? Like, have you run into them in public? And how could you tell? Because is that what they say, how they act?
Yeah, I had one person out of, at this point, over several thousand, come up to me on Hanover Street. I was leaving a restaurant, Saraceno's, where the owners have been incredibly hospitable to me and my legal team. Throughout trial, we'd pop in there all the time. And some woman, very haggard, older woman, came up to me and asked me right outside the restaurant. We had just left. And she came up to me on the steps of Saraceno's and said, how can you smile? You, Karen Reed, how can you smile? And before I could even, I'd not had an interaction like this at all. This was in November of 2024, between the two trials. I had not had an encounter like this. And the owners of Saraceno's, they also own like a coffee shop right next door. So they take up some real estate on that sidewalk. Several of them came out and all but chased her down the street with pitchforks. Shut up, you're ignorant. And she didn't seem to be of all her. Yeah, she didn't seem to be of all her wits. That is the only time that has happened. We've spent most of our time in the Seaport. We've just in our downtime. Nearly every Friday, I can't think of a Friday that eventually we didn't make our way to a restaurant. You had to decompress no matter how exhausted, which we all were every Friday. You had to blow off some steam. Just be somewhere loud and talk to people. And the support at so many establishments anywhere in Newbury Street, and we were in the North End a lot. I have not paid for a full drinks, appetizer, dinner, dessert tab in 2 years.
Wow, she's not. That's how much support she gets from the local businesses.
People, and it's all helped. It's all helped get us there. And it, especially for my lawyers and my family, they're not me. I know what support I have. Everywhere I go, I'm supported. They need to know it too, because when they go home between the trials, they're back to their, I don't want to say obscurity, but just back to their normal lives. But I can't thank the people in Boston proper, young couples, families, business proprietors, the people at the hotel, 2 hotels we've stayed at a lot, just makes us feel so strong. And for me, makes me feel confident that if my jury is anything representative of the people I'm encountering every day, I will be okay. But the public that was very vocal at court and online on social media, and the public that just came up to me one moment on the street and I never saw them again, has helped invigorate and steel each one of us, even if we may not have acted. I mean, there were times people came up for selfies and we were having, there was a serious conversation Alan and I were having with Marty Weinberg at the end of this second trial. And I said, Alan, I really have no money left.
Wow.
The last asset I had was my house, and that
she had to sell her house.
That paid the bulk of trial 2 plus donations. But now I need to put wheels in motion for an appeal. My parents are getting older. My closest friend, who's incredibly intelligent, is also incredibly busy professionally. This was like a week before the closing argument, and Alan and I were in a restaurant. It was quiet, and we were talking to Marty Weinberg on speaker. And it's funny, I ended up seeing a photo. There was a woman at the bar of this restaurant that I could tell was taking our photo. She was weird. I didn't actually see her take a photo, but she was very interested in us. I ended up seeing the photo of Alan and me on Twitter with some salacious headline. And I thought, I showed it to Alan. I said, if they only knew what we were actually, if she had just walked over and spied on us, the headline.
Someone said she got $1 million in donations. Yeah, I don't think it was even enough to pay the lawyers. And now she has 3 civil cases.
Would have been even better than what the contrived headline was, which is Karen Reed and Alan Jackson overheard on speaker with Marty Weinberg discussing a potential conviction.
Yeah.
And Marty, we don't talk about a lot because he's just come in as a pinch hitter, but
think about the Nick Reiner case. It is alleged that Alan Jackson stepped down because of the money and the family backing out. Maybe not the money so much, but he's expensive.
Trial. Yeah. But I'll never forget that conversation with him. It was, I think, a Sunday afternoon, and I'm in a steakhouse with Alan talking to him, and Marty says, you're not going to need it, Karen. You're not going to need it, but this is who I recommend. This is the kind of retainer he's going to need. You need to do this. You need to do this. And it was a tough day. We walked back to the hotel, and I felt I was probably like a little weepy. I don't remember how I got on that topic, but
I think someone was like asking for a selfie.
Oh yeah. Someone.
Dude, I freak out when I lose like a lip gloss. Imagine having to sell everything, even like your treadmill on top of your house and all your belongings.
So on the way home from that call with Marty, a daughter and mother had asked for selfies, and I just like I couldn't. It's the selfie question is very difficult. A lot of times I'm eating or I'm having a private conversation. I don't like how I look like any normal 45-year-old woman. I've been crying or I've been upset. And then if you say no, then people think I'm a bitch. Like, I'm supporting you. You're on trial for murdering a cop. You should be so lucky that I'm trying to support you. But then if I do take the photo, it's on social media and I look like I'm enjoying my life. I'm smiling and I look celebratory. I cannot win that game. I've turned people down for selfies, and then they just walk a half a block back and take it. Or they'll ask, well, can I have her, if I'm with Liza, can I just take her selfie? There's definitely, I'm smart enough about Gen Z, millennials, and my Gen X that I cannot interpret every selfie as staunch support for my innocence.
Yeah.
There are people that ask for selfies that maybe don't even believe I'm innocent or don't know anything about the case, but know that I've had people come up to me in the seaport and say, are you famous? Because they just saw and then ask for a selfie, and they don't even know who I am. They're going to post it and then and then start collecting the likes. Yeah, it's always been a guy too, like a Gen Z guy. Yeah. Who are you? Like,
who are you?
I'm like, you don't need to worry. If you don't know, then you don't need to worry about it.
They're like, are you on TV?
Yeah, it's weird.
Have you?
Interesting. I believe once more information comes out about some of the family will make presto change and turn on to the McCabe's. I hope so.
You been on the Karen Reed Reddit pages?
One good thing about having such a high profile case that's played out publicly is if we're working on trial or working on a witness and it's, well, when did 𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 testify that the video was a true and accurate representation of the Sally Port? I can just Google it. I don't even, it's like, all right, what's quicker? Do I go into my files with my library lookup system, or do I just Google it and it says day 27, 𝐤𝐥𝐥𝐲 testifies June 10th or whatever the date was. So I have not purposefully gone on Reddit to look myself up, but I have done searches looking for details that have led me to Reddit. And I've always been very pleased. I may not be seeing the right things, but I've always been pleased at the discussions I've seen on Reddit. They seem, they're intelligible and they're intelligent. They're not as emotionally, it seems anyway, that they're not as emotionally charged as social media pages where there are people with targeted goals. Like, there'll be,
Kat Randall, I agree with you. By the way, I am not a fan, but a car did not hit Officer John O'Keefe. Exactly.
on Twitter anymore, but I have popped on and off Twitter because there are some people that have actually done very good digging. That's been helpful to me. But I'll read a comment that Karen Reed looks like a leather handbag and she looks like a man with a wig. Or I've read very
crazy.
very physically demeaning things. I'm like, clearly you are over emotional for someone, for some unconnected third party.
Yeah.
You can say, I don't like the look on her face, she looks guilty, or I don't like the sound of her voice, she sounds arrogant. But when it gets very personal, I think, all right, which member of which family this is too visceral. You must be part of the shrapnel in this whole mess that you're saying. I don't know. It's not exactly those comments, but they're trying to hurt me, but they're so personal that it's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's one of these, or it's one of those guys.
Goofy. I know that you legally cannot say a lot of things. There are a lot of theories online about Canton's residence. A girl must try. So I'm just going to run them through you. There is an online conspiracy that Brian Albert and his sister-in-law, Jen McCabe, Jen are having an affair.
I love that part of the trial. The Jen. Oh my goodness.
They're trying to hurt me, but they're so personal that it's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's one of these, or it's one of those guys.
Goofy. I know that you legally cannot say a lot of things. There are a lot of theories online about Canton's residence. A girl must try. So I'm just going to run them through you. There is an online conspiracy that Brian Albert and his sister-in-law, Jen McCabe, Jen are having an affair. Do you know anything about that?
I do not know anything about that. I had read things like that very early on. John O'Keefe had told me when we first started dating in 2020. So we started dating very early in the pandemic. We had dated when we were in our early 20s, but we reconnected. Mm-hmm. He reached out to me during the pandemic. I think just because everyone was stranded at home and resorting to social networking. And he had told me, like our second date, that there is this according to John, that there was at that time a swinger scene in Canton, which I had read in Boston Magazine that there was one in a different Boston suburb. I'd never read specifically about Canton, but John insisted there was. And I think he can't be the only person, and I can't be the second person that's heard that rumor, fueled by these are people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s in some cases, hanging out all the time, drinking very late, drinking with family. So I don't know if there's truth to it, but I could see how rumors like that start. I had heard it from John, not about anyone in particular, but about couples.
So John told her that there was a swinger situation, no one in particular, but in my opinion, why would she bring it up if it was no one in particular? I don't think she wants to name drop someone within that group. They were swingers, and or maybe they were all cheating on each other.
In Canton.
House long to die in cold. What's the weirdest thing you've ever Googled?
You do not want to look through my Google searches. You would be shocked, astounded, appalled.
In particular, but about couples in Canton.
House long to die in cold. What's the weirdest thing you've ever Googled?
What's the weirdest thing I've ever Googled?
I Google weird shit all the time.
Googled.
At like 2 a.m.
Oh, God. I'm sure I've Googled something weird. I haven't Googled anything incriminating.
Yeah.
I'm sure it had something to do with like matching wires on a chandelier at my house, or something like to do with fixing something.
Yeah.
Like, what is this bolt that's sticking out of my lawnmower or something? But I don't know. I don't think I've Googled something like perverted or perversion anyway. But
Guilty.
There is an online rumor that Jen McCabe has voodoo dolls, plural, of you. Do you believe it?
I don't believe that.
You don't?
I don't.
That's good. Okay, because that would be creepy. I don't know how I would feel if someone had voodoo dolls of me. I feel like
It's not working.
Yeah, that's true. My husband saw a post on Chinese social media. A former student of yours wrote, and this is translated, so I'm going to read it. Okay. Karen Reed was my university professor. Back when I was applying for graduate school, she was the one who wrote my recommendation letter. She is sharp-minded, always positive, and someone I often had long, inspiring talks with. She encouraged me a lot. She even told me how I should learn to protect myself in the future. The financial industry is not a stranger to male supervisors and female subordinates with quid pro quo situations. I watched all the live stream news coverage of her trial. I tried to stay in touch, but I couldn't find her LinkedIn, so I decided to write this post to commemorate her. She will always have a special place in my heart.
Is her name Claire?
Can you check? Yeah. You remember?
Wait.
There was a group of Chinese students I had around 2018 that I got very close with, and they would just hang around, and it stood out to me because it was winter semester, and I taught till about like 10 at night. So when a student stuck around, they'd walk me to my car. I did bond with that group, and one in particular named Claire, but it might not be because I think I am connected to her on LinkedIn. I'm sad I don't speak Chinese because I never saw that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The name I saw was Lulu Chen. Maybe that's her Chinese.
Oh, I do know who that is. I do know who. Oh my God. I have not thought about her in a minute. Because of all that's happened. I do know exactly who that is.
Wait,
yeah, Lulu
you
Chen.
remember all your students?
I remember her.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, because if you write a letter and she's saying we had these conversations, and I remember very petite and long hair, and she was very very trendy. I remember Lulu.
She even said that one time she walked into the class and you complimented her on her shoes and bags.
Yeah, I was just going to remember her bags. I was just trying to.
She's saying you're the most fashionable teacher. And
that doesn't take much. That doesn't take much.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very fashionable, very earnest, and I know exactly who she is. So hi, Lulu. I hope you're doing well.
Do you miss teaching? Do you like?
I do. Yeah.
What did you mainly teach? Like, so finance, but like what?
I taught a few different courses, but mainly I taught an introduction to capital markets. Like how the stock market works, how a company goes public, how to analyze a company's financial statements. We did a lot of real world examples. I taught through the financial crisis. I started teaching in 2007 or 2008. I started at Fidelity in 2007, and I started teaching in 2008.
That's awesome, because I don't know shit about that.
I felt at Fidelity, I was very, very much junior. I was a very small fish and just the best pond to be in, but it was difficult on my self-esteem. It was a lot of strong personalities, incredibly intelligent, the biggest investors, literally the biggest investors. It was a great place. I would never have left on my own accord if I didn't have to, but I felt just for my self-esteem, I wanted to do more. I felt like teaching kept me sharp in a different way. Work, I was always, my full-time job, I was always learning, but teaching, you have to be prepared every class that there is a student smarter than you, or many students smarter than you, at least on some topic.
Yeah.
That there is something he or she has a personal interest in, broad or narrow, and they are going to know more than you. And you have to know, how deep can I prepare? How much can I help? enhance the subject matter? And when do you say, I am not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that company, or I'm not familiar with that investment product. You cannot fake it. And this is, Bentley is not the Ivy League, but I had incredibly intelligent Ivy League worthy students every semester that I did learn things from, but you've got to know your boundaries. But you also want to push them that if there is interest from students in a topic that I'm not overly comfortable in, how much can I learn so that we can extend this topic? But I loved it. I loved the students. I love being back on campus. I've always been connected to Bentley. My dad's worked there my entire life. I went to basketball camps there in high school. I went to undergrad. I went to grad there, and I miss it. But this, I haven't chosen this, but this is what this was the bigger purpose for me. I don't have children. I don't see that happening at this point. But my legacy is,
she could have probably wanted children or had them if she didn't deal with all of this,
going to be my impact on Massachusetts and possibly broader criminal justice. And what I did at Bentley and what I did at Fidelity can be easily, maybe Bentley not so easily, because teachers, you have freedom and subjectivity to turn a class into whatever you want to turn it into. But this is, like it or not, this is what I'm here for. And this is what my parents and my friends and my lawyers, this is why they went to law school. We're going to change. We've already changed things. Even if I was convicted, the change has happened. People, even if that jury came back and convicted me, people who watched every day of that trial or 3 days of the trial, know.
I watched every day, both trials.
Know what they saw. They don't need a jury to confirm it for them. I've read comments online when I've indulged against my better instincts that I'm going to let it play out. It hasn't been, I'm not going to buy this conspiracy. It's all up to the jury. I've read many comments like that. Like let the, it's usually from the other side, the baddies. Let it play out. This is for a jury to decide. Like, what a narrow-minded way to go through life, that I'm going to let a jury tell me. I mean, it's one thing if you don't watch it, then I guess the jury is the next best thing. What is their opinion? Juries tend to be reasonable, but read the filings, watch the witnesses. What are you going to, you're going to let someone else make up your mind for you? That's like having someone else tell you who should be president.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't vote for this president, but that's who the majority says, so that's who it should be. Those comments are, it's just a cop out.
Yeah.
It's a way to not address the elephant in the room.
Would you ever be a lawyer? Like, would you ever become one?
Never.
Never?
Never. I feel the system is too broken and I'm too old. I think if I were younger and I had more energy, and I hope our law clerks, who we were so blessed to have, which was a brainchild of Alan Jackson's before the first trial. Like I'm running out of money. I've got a house, and then I'm out, and then I just have to hope the charity of others gets me there. And he said, "Well, I've got an idea. Let's see if there's any law students. We've got the best universities up here. Let's see if any third-year law students want to help." And we just got to rush. David went to BC Law. Alan went to Harvard, and we had a week of interviews.
Of course, Alan Jackson went to Harvard.
Zooms. David and I interviewed. Each law school sent out a wanted email.
Wow.
David and I did the BC interviews. Alan and Liza did the Harvard, and we probably did about 40. And that was all we could have taken more.
Yeah.
Probably did 40 each. And we each picked our favorites. And then I think we kind of convened on the others. And my pick, so I interviewed the Harvard, the BC. My number one pick from the jump was Evan 𝐼𝐸, who ended up working on the trial the most for us. They were all great. And then towards the end of trial, Evan had a contract to work at a big firm in the Seaport. And I said, I would love for you to go work with Alan, like, because he and Alan got on, and Liza, the three of them, like, there was a real, Alan and Liza have a great complementary dynamic, and Evan just fit right in. And I kind of engineered it. I would talk to Evan privately, and then I would talk to Alan, and now Evan's with Alan. Alan and Liza interviewed the Harvard students, and we ended up choosing 4 or 5. Among them was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. She's graduated, but Sophia Hunt, she was kind of our leader of the interns, like the conduit between the interns and Liza, who was managing the interns. But we could not have done what we did in the second trial with a whole new prosecution, new witnesses, trying to keep out that the voir dires and the Daubert hearings, which we did not have the first trial. It took us 3 days to get Dr. Russell qualified to testify in trial 2. This is after she's already testified in trial 1. I had to fly her up here for 3 days of hearings. Wow. Same with ARCA. I can't remember if we had to voir dire or
crash daddies. If you know, you know.
Daubert, Dr. La Posada, but every witness that Brennan could challenge, every expert he did. And we could never have handled that. We did not have the bandwidth without these law students. I mean, they would sleep at the hotel on couches in our rooms. They'd wear the same suits the next day. I mean, they were indefatigable and just a total lifesaver. They become like family to us. They helped save.
Yeah, I agree with you, B12. They said it, or LZ and B12. I wonder what John might have either found out or was investigating. I agree. He had just been moved into sex crimes. Yeah, I think there's an alternate motive as well.
In my life, and I didn't know them 1 minute, and hopefully, I know them forever now.
Did you guys have a group chat?
We did. We called it the, I don't know if you heard the name for the ARCA witnesses. They were called
Crash Daddy?
Crash Daddies. Our group name for the third-year law students was Crash Graddies.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
because they all graduated, and one of our interns was getting married, graduating, and moving to Chicago to start her job, all within like 2 weeks. So they were all one. Sophie, who's is like a little more like a daughter to me, I guess. But
was John getting ready to expose?
I treat her like a little sister. She hasn't graduated yet, but the other 8 have all graduated. So our group thread, I think it's me with the 8 of them or the 9 of them, was Crash Graddies.
That's so good. Speaking of, have you seen the clip where it appears that Auntie Bev, it appears from social opinion that she's checking out Crash Daddy?
Bev, you better back up off my man.
She seems too self-conscious of a woman to have done that knowing she was on camera. But what you're referring to, I have seen.
You're going to stay in Massachusetts forever.
No, God, I hope I don't have to stay much longer in Massachusetts.
Where do you want to live?
Anywhere but Massachusetts.
49 other states.
Yeah, anywhere. I could be in the middle of the woods. I could be on a farm. I could be on the water. I don't care. I care who I'm with.
Yeah.
I don't want to see another Massachusetts state trooper. I don't care if they're reformed or under a different colonel. I have taken too many shots at law enforcement to feel protected by law enforcement, although we have had many positive experiences. Yeah. I hope law enforcement that supports me, or at least believes me, in Massachusetts understands what has happened to me at the hands of law enforcement and why I feel the way I do. My grandfather, my mother's father, was a police officer. Obviously, John was a police officer. I am not anti-law enforcement, but I have had many, many members of law enforcement abuse my rights and lie. And that's as far as I'll go. And I can prove that they have lied. I hope the good law enforcement knows why I feel the way I do, but I don't feel safe in Massachusetts. I don't feel that the politics are safe. It's not that those problems don't exist everywhere else.
Absolutely. I agree with her.
but I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to see any more of the law. I will try to make change in other ways, but the legal system just feels so broken. I look at my lawyers and I just think, what made you go into this? You're just such an underdog. You're battling the resources of the state, sometimes with a defendant that can't even make bail. And then how do you hire the crash daddies and La Posada and Dr. Russell? And the government can go with a blank check to Aperture and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and pay a special prosecutor hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You want to make change, but not get into law. Where do you see yourself like in 5 years? Where would you hope your life to be?
I hope within 5 years we've written the book, which I think will take longer. I'm not even, I can get there if I have to, but I'm not even in the headspace to start regurgitating and reliving all this. I would, and I need the money, so I'll do it when I have to start doing it. But I think the easiest thing I can do is just keep telling the story. There are so many facets to this that the public doesn't know just because there hasn't been, I mean, this is my first real interview. There's so much of what is entailed in this fight that you know more about this case than average, partly because it's played out twice and it's about to be played out in a different form a third time. But what it takes to mount a defense, to even stay somewhat competitive to the prosecution, I think the details, the financial costs, the sweat equity, what these lawyers have to sacrifice, it's amazing anyone's acquitted. It really amazes me. And my case was easy to prove. My case was logical. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And we still were met with just such a fight from the government that I've paid taxes to, and they threw everything at me that they could and didn't come close. I think the public needs to know, they need to be more careful. They need to know their rights. They need to know not ever to speak to law enforcement. Unfortunately, we can't cooperate the way we would think we need to, because if God forbid this goes south, it will be used against you in a court of law. It will be manipulated against you in a court of law. It will be taken out of context against you in a court of law. You know, we're trying to put together this YouTube channel, Alan and I. And I read a couple comments, like, I'm done hearing from Karen.
Wow, their YouTube channel is really going to kick off.
What does she have to it? I can tell you what it's like to be a defendant, and I can tell you what it takes to be the system. It's a lot more than what you think. I've lived now 6 months, 3 continuous at a time, with my defense team, with ancillary members of the defense team, with law students. We had a documentary crew with us at one point. It's emotional and trying and exhausting. And there's a lot of choreography and personnel management, I'll call it, to walk into court looking how we looked every day, and to be cohesive. And I had 3 men in their 60s from 3 different firms, very seasoned in their careers, all having spent time as prosecutors. And then Liza made partner along the way, also experienced with her own opinions. We don't just show up and put Kelly Deaver on the stand. Everyone has their own experience, and therefore—
Oh, she mentions Deaver, and her Yannetti, Jackson, and Alessi are something else, man. She had a great defense team.
Their own strategy and their own way of doing things. And they all fall on me to break the tie. It's very, very trying. It's why I feel this crash from trial, because it wasn't just sitting there and trying to keep my emotions in check, which sometimes I didn't do a very good job of. It was what was happening. Honestly, trial, sitting there, was oftentimes easier than having to go home. The worst nights, the worst moments of trial at times were Monday and Tuesday nights, where we just had a grueling day at court and some big witness is coming on Thursday, or worse, we think a big witness is coming Thursday, but Brennan hasn't finalized the batting order yet. So it could be the children are testifying on Thursday, or it could be 𝐤𝐸𝐞𝐥𝐥, or it could be Tully, one of the four. I mean, that's how it goes. That's the dirty pool that's happening, is we are finding out sometimes within 1 day's notice who is going to testify. We were told that, now I can't remember her name, the dog DNA expert from UCal Berkeley, she was on the witness list. We were told every Friday when the judge would call us up at sidebar and say, what are the plans? Who's coming up next? We were told every Friday, she's coming. She should be coming this week. We're trying to make travel arrangements. She should be coming. She never came. And we have our own opinions about why she didn't testify. But it wasn't as if we had this roadmap of trial and we had some time to plan.
Thank you, Kat Randall, for gifting a membership. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And Pam Adams, welcome to membership, Mellyverse.
We, for example, did not know if we could call ARCA until trial had already started. So Judge Cannoni told Alan the morning of opening statements in trial 2 that she had not made up her mind about ARCA, and he was therefore disallowed from mentioning ARCA in his opening statements. So that meant Hank Brennan presented his case, and you're going to hear from Aperture, ladies and gentlemen, and 2 PhDs. Oh, that's right. Shannon Burr just lied about his degrees. One PhD is going to tell you that car backed up at 24 miles an hour, 62 feet, and it spun him around like a top, and he fell and cracked his head open. Then we get up to give opening statements, and we've got the federally contracted ARCA PhDs who've done all this work. And
shout out to ARCA Crash Daddies.
We've had them now for a year, and we can't mention them. So if jurors were paying attention, they'd say, well, wait a minute. So the prosecution has a physical reconstructionist who's going to tell us that car damaged that body and that body damaged that car. But Reed doesn't have why they can't prove it. So they go into trial thinking, I don't think Reed can physically prove that this didn't happen. This is Cannoni handicapping us. So she said to Alan the morning of opening, you have 10 minutes. I have not ruled on ARCA. And Alan said, Your Honor, it's in my opening statement. I can't not talk about they're arguably our 2 most important witnesses. And she said, you have 10 minutes to sit at the table and edit your opening. And she gave him exactly that. I've never seen Alan, and I've seen him in different states of pressure. This was unspeakable, what she was putting him through. And he is so choreographed and fastidious and meticulous, and everything flows. It's not a stream of consciousness. It's something he's worked and massaged. And he reiterates themes as he goes through. He didn't just talk about ARCA once. He introduced them in the beginning. There was no collision. There was no collision.
There was no collision with
I love Alan Jackson.
John O'Keefe. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision.
And then he goes into detail throughout that all had to be excised and still flow.
There was no collision, said Alan Jackson. Thank you, Kat Randa, for the super chat. I have a belief this case is a mission from God. Blues Brothers style Rotten Mango may become a catalyst. We shall see. Ooh. Okay. Interesting theory. We shall see. Thank you for the super chat, Kat Randa.
These are fights that we were made to endure that we shouldn't have, and it was something like this multiple times a day of this magnitude. So I think long answer to your question about the next 5 years, even just for therapeutic reasons, I I want people who care to know everything that happened.
You're still fighting. So you had the 2 trials, but now there's a civil fight. There's multiple civil fights. How much is that going to cost?
3 civil cases she has going on now.
My biggest expense is logistics. The amount of work required is just so vast. I mean, it took 3 different firms, Yannetti, DLA Piper, where Bob was from, and Worksman Jackson, for 2 trials. We didn't even make it through the first time around. We had to do it again. And now I currently have 3 civil trials happening. I have the O'Keefe wrongful death suit in Plymouth County, Massachusetts. I have my suit against Canton PD and Massachusetts State Police in Bristol County, Massachusetts, both state. And now I have the federal with the Alberts, McCabe's, Higgins, Proctor, Tully, and Buchnick. So that's 3. Alan is still one of my attorneys. I am not currently compensating Alan, but I do pay for all the travel and logistics. I have.
Wow. Did you guys hear that?
I've paid modestly so far.
She's not paying Alan. It brings me to the Nick Reiner case. You know, was it the money that he backed out and quit? No, I think it was the family who asked Alan Jackson to step down.
County, Massachusetts, both state. And now I have the federal with the Alberts, McCabe's, Higgins, Proctor, Tully, and Buchnick. So that's 3. Alan is still one of my attorneys. I am not currently compensating Alan, but I do pay for all the travel and logistics. I have paid modestly so far, she and Finney, but the amount of work they've done on a billable hour rate is already astronomical. I mean, they're doing something robust for my case as I sit here right now. They're amazing, and there's 3 of them, and they're all just like Alan's firm. They're all complementary. They work together for a reason because they're good together. The worst is over. I am used to fighting now. If any party to this thinks this is inflicting pain on me, you don't understand what I've been through and what I've survived and what I can handle. And you don't understand what's going on and what more is about to be revealed. I mean, we were hamstrung, in our opinion, badly at trial. There's more evidence and there's more of a story to tell.
I want it all.
And it has to be done. We have to finish this. It's why Alan is still involved. It's why Damon, he was my parents' attorney throughout the last year, but it's why Damon wants to be a part of this civil suit as well. But we have a lot more to do. And luckily we know this case so well. So many of us know it so well. It's just a matter of understanding civil law and how this all has to play out. And it's even more tedious than the criminal court.
Yeah. And I know you have a civil fund set up. I'm going to leave that in the description for people to support. I think it's interesting because there is kind of this narrative that like you got a book deal, you have all this money from the documentary, which we're finding out is not true. You sold your house. We do know that's true. You lost years of your life that you could have been working. You lost your careers. You used up your savings. You cashed out on your retirement. You sold your treadmill.
Oh, I did sell. Who said that?
It was in an interview.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. I did sell my treadmill.
Wow.
I think I gave it to my neighbor. Did my neighbor take my
She sold her treadmill.
Yeah.
I sold it to my neighbor. My neighbors were lovely. They're a young family and they had a baby in the middle of all this. It was funny because I would not like a creep, but I would watch them out the window. My bedroom faced their house and I would hear the little baby that was born. I want to say their baby was born in the winter of 2022. I would hear the baby outside and think, what a juxtaposition that I'm going through this in this house and they're so lovely. My neighbors, my old neighbors, and they're starting this family. And when they bought the house, I don't even think they were married yet. And they're growing. The firstborn's getting bigger, and it didn't make me sad. It was like life is always starting fresh, and life it's not always happy. It won't always be happy for them, but it is. There's always another moment of happiness, even if there's tragedy in it. But yeah, I have not made anything, not a dime. I don't have a movie. I don't have a book. When I do, you'll know. And
Wow.
there are obstacles even to that. A book, my understanding is if we are authors, we could be given some to write the book, almost as if we were taking a sabbatical to write this book. With a movie, what I'm learning is someone like me who would be selling her life rights for the movie, I wouldn't really be able to monetize that until the movie is actually in production, that my rights are actually, it's like a stock option. They're actually going to be, the rights will actually be exercised. So no, I love my parents. But I don't know that the three of us need to live together until the end of time. I'd love to live with them in a bigger house with where we can spread out. But no, obviously, if I were making millions or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, ask the people who live on Country Hill Drive in North Dighton. That's
You should get all that money back from the government.
where I live, and I'm lucky I have them, and I feel safe, and I'm lucky I can enjoy my parents at this age, and we don't have this trial over our heads anymore. But no, I'd like to be doing things. I'd like to regain some more strength physically. I don't know that I like to travel right now, but I'd like to be somewhere with the people I love. And I haven't been able to because I don't have the resources. I have had some very generous people help me in small ways and not so small ways to celebrate. I've had people open their homes to me and my family and really enjoy life for a few moments. People that owed me nothing, and I've gotten a lot of offers I haven't taken, but and I've got a lot of work to do. So wherever I go, I can't really just unplug, but I haven't made any money. I haven't made any. If you can find an example, if someone has a receipt, by all means, and I'll answer to it. They can send it to you and I will answer to that.
Speaking of money in movies, you're not making any money from the Amazon Prime movie with Elizabeth Banks. Is it Amazon Prime?
Elizabeth Banks, I thought was Hulu.
Oh,
that
Hulu.
I have
Okay,
nothing to do with that.
I have not seen that. I have not seen the Lifetime one. I'm not even going to waste my time or money.
Okay. And
I am not making any money. I will not be making any money from that.
The new Lifetime movie.
So I just heard about that yesterday. I refreshed my news feed and I saw the announcement from Lifetime. And it's funny. The actress, I actually saw a still. Apparently this is done.
Wow.
They've filmed this and it's coming out in January is I think what I read. It's on their docket for January. And the actress Katie Cassidy, her father, David Cassidy, he was on a show in the 70s called The Partridge Family, and it was a band. Have you heard of The Partridge Family? It was like in the Brady Bunch era, like bell bottoms and kind of poppy, catchy music. And they were a band, and they also had a TV show, and he was like a teenage heartthrob, they used to call him. And he had a brother, I think a half brother, Sean Cassidy, who was also in a band in the late 70s. They were in a Broadway play where they played brothers separated at birth, and one went one side of the tracks and one went the other in London, and they reconnected unbeknownst to them and became best friends, and then found out they were actual brothers. And it was an amazing musical. It was in 1995 that I saw this play with my family, and David Cassidy was a star. And I was talking to my dad last night, and I said, who would have thought, I was 15 in 1995, who would have thought that we're in this little, it's called the Music Box Theater right off Broadway in Midtown Manhattan. Who would have thought that I guess David Cassidy was maybe in his 40s at the time, that his daughter would play me in a movie. So I feel some kinship. I've seen her in a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. That is the best version I've seen of that movie. If you're into horror movies, it's good. That's all I know about. I had nothing. I didn't even know it was happening. I will not be seeing any. I'd like, if they want to send me some money, I'll gladly take it. But I didn't know anything.
You hear
about
that, Lifetime?
If this is getting the story out, get it out.
Yeah.
It's compelling. It's a moment in history. I don't blame these people for making these movies, but I will say I have gone through
I think the next part she says will be interesting.
a lot of pain and lost a lot. And you're telling my story to make money and you're not involving me. How much will people take on my coattails and not show any economical appreciation? So I wish these people luck in their endeavors, but I hope they know what I've lost for them to tell this story.
I know that you guys are working on the YouTube show, but if we were to end it on a lighter note, if I were to summon you with a magical spell, you have to pick 5 things or objects that speak to you. What would you pick?
5 things or objects that speak to me. Well, one easy one would be rosary beads. I'm religious. I don't pray as much as I should pray. I should be praying many times a day, and I do not. But when I was in jail both times, I prayed the rosary without my rosary beads over and over. I actually used it to help myself keep time because I know it takes me 15 minutes. I have a friend who actually gave me rosary beads that were made with yellow roses that were on John's casket, because I was not at John's funeral. But
oh, wow, that's beautiful.
She grabbed a handful of petals and made me rosary beads. So those are very precious to me. I had someone, this is something that was just recently, it's not in my possession, but it means something to me, and I'd like to get my own copy. Alan had a renowned courtroom artist in Los Angeles. I believe she's retired now. She just goes by the first name Mona. She did a courtroom sketch, which is fascinating. It's like, looks like a mix of watercolor and like pencil. And it's Alan in great detail. It's very small. It's Alan. My parents are behind him. Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, and Colin Albert. It's during closing argument are in the O'Keefe's gallery, and I'm turning around looking at Alan, and it was amazing. I asked Alan if we can please commission her to do one that I can keep. I've gotten like so many photos. There's a photo that someone took in the courtroom. There's 2. It's not really the photo, but it's that moment that I would never remember with the clarity without the photo. But there's several of me kissing my dad that they're just perfect. And then there's one hugging my parents. I know a gentleman named Greg Durr, D-E-R-R, is a photographer. I think he's just part of the Associated Press, or he works for the Boston Globe, but he's really commemorated some amazing moments. But there's one where I'm hugging my parents after the verdict, and my hair is kind of pulled tight, and I've got my fists are like this, and I'm hugging, and I just know exactly how I felt. There's a couple photos of my dad and me that I kissed him every day, and my mom, so I don't remember specific that moment, but hugging them after the verdict, I remember. Other than that, there aren't many objects that mean much to me. I've learned to become more transient, less sentimental through this process, because I had a house that was big for me, that I filled with things that I collected in art. And luckily I gave a lot of it to a cousin of mine who I know is going to look after it. And I actually hope he keeps it all, because I love him. But I'm not too attached really to anything physically anymore. When your freedom is on the line, none of this material stuff, you could lose it all, and it all has a monetary value. My treadmill granted, it was not used very much, but none of it means anything. So I don't have too many objects. There's photos, I don't even know if those count, but I don't have too many physical objects that mean all that much to me.
No, but those are like the best ones, the ones you just said. I really hope, don't listen to those people. I really hope that we hear a lot more from you talking about your own case yourself. We're going to look forward to the YouTube show. I think it's going to hopefully come out around the time this comes out, hopefully.
We are going to be having a YouTube channel launch, hopefully in January 2026, The Read Files.
The Read Files.
The Read
Okay.
Files. And
I'm
that'll
gonna link
be,
it.
That'll be Alan Jackson, Nick Rocco is going to host, and I'll be there on The Read.
Okay. You're there. And that's the wrap!
Wow. That was a great interview. Very long, very good. I'm going to have to break that down. I still want to go through it again. Shout out to Rotten Mangoes. Hopefully she doesn't strike channels that are covering this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm glad we watched this. Shout out to all of you guys for watching with me. We do start Karen Read transcripts. I do want to go through them at some point this week, maybe tomorrow.
He's not going to pay them
we have a lot of
$100,000
true crime
to simply
covered
go in and
this week.
plead him out.
I will
to these charges.
scheduling. Please make sure to hit the like button on your way out. Replay viewers, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I will be back later, I think, with more true crime. So like I said, definitely make sure your notifications are turned on. Shout out to you guys. Great interview by Rotten Mango. I'm glad Karen is finally able to tell her story in her own words. And The Read Files is her YouTube channel with Alan Jackson. So definitely make sure you subscribe. Shout out to all of you guys for being here. I will be probably covering this more. I want to break it down and maybe watch some parts of the trial again and go through some stuff. So like I said, turn on your notifications, and I will be back later today with more true crime. So I hope to see you there, and thanks for hanging out and watching this with me. I'll see you guys later.